I'm Charles Foster Kane!
Hey, Stella!
Suck on this.
What is happening, everybody? James Hancock here. Today, it is my pleasure and my privilege to welcome Becky Deanna to the show for our 2024 San Diego Comic-Con recap and discussion. This has been an annual tradition for us for a couple, maybe like 6 or 7 years at this point in a pure audio format. But today we are leveling up to video, and I'm very fired up. But Becky's been in the thick of things down in San Diego since last Wednesday, while I've been following from kind of a bird's eye view with the news announcements online from within my little command console. But I think between the two of us, we have a good chance of making everybody aware of some really cool stuff to look forward to in the near future, or in some cases, some stuff to avoid like the plague. But in any event, Becky, how the hell are you? How much sleep have you had? And have you started exhibiting any symptoms yet of convention flu?
No convention flu yet. Knock on wood. There's wood underneath me. Not yet. I am kind of a mess right now, so I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of a mess. And I'm not used to video, so hi. None of you ever seen me on video before.
I think we did a video about Halloween, maybe about 2 years ago.
Yes,
but I'm hoping
2 years
that
younger.
After you've gotten through this video, you will be obsessed with the video format and eager to do more videos in the future in the years to come. So
yeah, if you want to see me on video and you know, don't think I'm hideous, then yeah, I'll come back. Yeah.
Well, like I always say this with David Lambert, he has an open invite or a kind of a permanent invitation to come on at any time on any topic. Same holds true to you. If you say, hey, I need to get something off my chest about Alien Romulus, by all means, just let me know.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. In regards to walking, I actually took down my Fitbit step stakes. So you guys know how much walking it takes at Comic-Con.
All right, let me do a guess.
Oh yeah, you want to guess? Okay.
I'm going to guess you averaged 20,000 steps per day from Wednesday through Sunday.
I did more than that per day.
Lay it on me.
So I averaged I would say the average is probably 22,000 or more. So on Thursday was the biggest day, which was 28,921 steps.
Like 4 miles?
No, so I did 8.14 miles on Wednesday, 12.2 miles on Thursday, 10.5 miles on Friday, 9.04 miles on Saturday, 10.54 on Sunday, which totals to I did 50.47 miles of walking from Wednesday to Sunday night.
Well, you work in marketing. That should be a new part of their marketing slogan for Comic-Con. Like, come to Comic-Con and get in really good shape because you will walk.
Yeah, so that's 100. It's 119,900 steps. I have small steps because I'm not like super tall, so I'm sure it would be less steps for someone taller. But it was it's, you know what's funny? It's like when people say they run the marathon and then like they can barely drag themselves across the finish line. It's one of those things where you have you're just, you know, point A to point B, walking. One night I had 2.17 hours. I had 2 hours and 17 minutes of sleep one night, 2 hours and 47 minutes of sleep another night. And the other 2 nights I got 4.5 hours of sleep. So you have no sleep. You're walking. You're scorching hot. It's insane. There's crowds everywhere. I'm going to get sick. But it's amazing, and you're on adrenaline, so you don't really feel it. But it was funny.
You feel it in the morning, though. I haven't been to Comic-Con like in 7 years, but I remember when you wake up, everything hurts. You're like, what the fuck's going on? But then you have a little coffee and you drag yourself back down to the convention and the sweat kicks in and then you're ready to rock.
Yeah, you do feel it in the morning. I felt like my feet were on fire in the morning sometimes when I wake up. And then there was other times where I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus. Like I went to bed past midnight one night and I had to get up at 3 a.m. And then I got up at 2:45. I'm like, I got to get up right now because I had to get out to the Hall H line. So I literally got out of the bed at 2:45, having like less than 2 hours or a little over 2 hours of sleep. But what I was saying is last night we had a dinner post Comic-Con and I felt fine. And then when we got up from the table, I couldn't, I could feel every muscle. Like it was just, I was actually like almost limping to the car. It's like my body was like, oh, it's over. And then I could feel it all again. And it was crazy. I felt like I was getting off steroids and all of a sudden this is how it actually feels. So you have to be prepared if you come. It's a lot.
You got to really want to be there. And if you really want to be there, it feels like the center of the universe.
Yes.
And so quick question though. I've been hearing some rumors or rumblings that San Diego, the city, is starting to turn against the convention a bit, and that 2025 might be the last year in San Diego before moving either to downtown LA or Vegas. Any truth or bullshittery to those rumors, or what did you hear at this year's Comic-Con?
Yeah, there was a lot of rumors about it. I think, yeah, and exactly that's it. People think it's either Vegas or LA. I think the big part of it is people think the hotel rooms are just too expensive, and but the reality is Vegas is just as expensive. So I think if they're really going, to make it cheaper, I guess LA is the way to go. But honestly, I think that it's all talk. I think there's no way they're going to move out of San Diego. I think that they say it's probably, I guess more likely Vegas. I think the other thing is that the rooms are not as big. So Hall H seats 6,500 people. They wish they had a bigger venue for more people and more.
There's a baseball diamond right down the street. They should just fill that fucker up.
Yeah, they could use Petco Park, and they don't. But this year wasn't too bad. I mean, I did wait 17 hours in line to get in, but it was a whole thing. We'll get through that. But there's a venue, and then also the hotel rooms are expensive. So Comic-Con does have an hotel room lottery system, which if you can get into the lottery, the rooms are a discounted rate, so you can get them at normal prices. But if you don't get through the lottery and you pay outside, like I heard somebody got Hard Rock was like $1,000 a night, and hotels were $800 a night. So if you don't
going
get
to the Super Bowl, you're paying for the privilege.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if you get through the lottery, I have a bunch of times, it could be like 2 something night. So it's like, and sometimes you get a mile away and you get the gas lamp. But I got lucky. I got the Manchester Grand Hyatt, which is right like 2 hotels down from the convention.
Yeah, if you're
center.
on a hotel south of the highway, it's very convenient. I always stayed like in a hotel like a mile or 2 to the north, which would dramatically reduce the overall expense of the process. But then you're walking a hell of a lot more, and you're having to cross the highway and get through the bottleneck. If you're on the other side, it definitely makes the whole experience a little bit more pain-free. But I guess my next follow-up question would be like, explain the appeal of Comic-Con now when you have so many rivals popping up. Like you have D23 in a couple of weeks, and you've got CinemaCon, and you've got Star Wars Day, and you've got all these events that are basically just like the Comic-Con experience, but with a slightly different branding and a slightly different venue. And like obviously everybody's trying to steal their thunder, steal some of that money. So make the case. What makes San Diego Comic-Con unique in 2024, which you can't get at some of those other experiences?
Yeah, I would say the thing that makes Comic-Con unique is that it's really everything in one. It's movies, it's TV, it's all sorts of genres. It's comics. There's a big comic contingent. There still is a big section of the floor that's comics and comic book signings. And so like CinemaCon's just movies. Obviously, the great thing about CinemaCon, if you're determining between this Hall H experience, CinemaCon's great because I've never been, but I don't work in exhibitions, so I don't get sent for Sony. But you went and you can pay to go as too. But CinemaCon's great because essentially it's like the Hall H experience, but you don't have to wait in line. You buy a ticket and you're in, and then you get into everything, and then the studios are showing you all their stuff, and it's great. That's essentially the best part of Hall H. So if you're really
movie stars and filmmakers come out on stage and that sort of thing, like George Miller and Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth came out just to talk about Mad Max for like an hour. I was like, all right, this is pretty cool.
And it's definitely, they put on a show. So, cause they're doing it for the exhibitors, and they're the one trying to convince them to, plug these movies and get the most screens and things. So if you're really just at Comic-Con for the Hall H experience, all the movies, and I guess CinemaCon's a great alternative, and the wait in line. But if you're there for comics, there's also comic book conventions. But I think the best part of it is that it's all of it. So and it's like any single fandom, I feel like it represents the most niche fandom, and the fact that it's so accepting of everything. Like you're in line with someone who's really into some obscure thing you may never heard of, but they're totally cool that you're into that. Or you can just communally be around people. Like I was around like at Hall H line, I did a big block of Star Trek fans. So I was in the Hall H line all day with 50 Star Trek fans. And so I was just surrounded and talked Trek all day. And that was just heaven for me. But it could be, Pokemon, or it could be anything, or really into certain comics. And so
everybody thinks their fandom is the center of the universe at the exclusion of all else. And like, I remember being in line with you, I think in summer 2017, and one of your friends was really into the show Vikings, and she got like a glazed over expression when discussing. I was like, all right, I've never seen a single episode, but if you just want to give me the spiel about Vikings, lay it on me.
But that's the other thing, and maybe I have a utopian version of Comic-Con, but I really have felt this is my 18th Comic-Con consecutive. Well, not consecutive because there wasn't one in 2020 and 21. If there was one in 2020 and 21, this would be a landmark year for me. This would be my 20th Comic-Con, but I wasn't able to go those 2 years because they didn't have it. So it's not like I could go. But really, in the 18 years I've gone, it's just everybody's so accepting and like wonderful about your fandom, and you feel like you're around your people no matter what you're into. I've never gotten in like a fight with anyone over anything, and like, oh, you're not into that. Oh, and like
But
what's
fights do occur. I mean, I remember there was
do.
one year somebody got stabbed in the eye with a pen over like some
Yes.
Harry Potter event or a friggin' maybe it was one of those stupid vampire.
No.
What was that vampire series with Kristen Stewart?
Oh, True Blood. It wasn't.
No,
not
not True Blood. The other one, the one with Robert Pattinson. I'm totally blanking on that. Anyway, everybody knows this stupid fucking vampire series I'm thinking about. But anyway, there was a giant fight, and anyway, there are some altercations when passions run too high.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was those.
Twilight. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Twilight's what actually Twilight is a big part of Comic-Con history because Hall H was never insane until the first Twilight movie had a
when
panel.
they invited non-comic book movies into the Comic-Con experience, suddenly became just a giant entertainment convention as opposed to San Diego.
Yeah, but actually that stabbing in the eye, I was outside of Comic-Con waiting to get in when the stabbing happened, but the stabbing had nothing to do with fandom. It had to do with, well, some guy wouldn't move. He wanted the guy to move down in the row in the seat, so he stabbed him in the eye with a pencil. And the Harry Potter part is the guy that stabbed him, the guy that stabbed with the pencil. He was wearing a Harry Potter shirt, so we were outside, and as the cops were taking him away in handcuffs, he was wearing a Harry Potter.
It would have been better if he had been in a robe with the scarf. That would have made the whole thing much more entertaining.
Yeah, so I guess the Harry Potter fan was the sociopath. But
they play rough.
Yes, but I mean, there's also amazing Harry Potter fans. Don't want to cast aspersions to that genre. But yeah, so you got a little. It was, and I think it was some Hall H panel. I don't remember what it was about, but the Harry Potter thing was he was a Harry Potter fan. And it was because the guy wouldn't move. He didn't like that he wouldn't move, so he got pissed.
Gotcha.
He was obviously unstable, so there's that.
Well, speaking of fandoms, I don't know how this happened, but at some point over the last few years, somebody started following our recordings together, and their Twitter handle is Complément du Objet. If I'm saying that at all correctly, I asked Becky if she speaks French. She speaks a little bit, but she'd refused to pronounce it. But it's
my pronunciation is horrible.
I'll leave a link to the Twitter handle down in the description below. But they put together a little video recently. Actually, initially it was a video with a picture of us when you and I went on a date to some USC function, I believe, back in the early 2000s. But what I've done, I've taken the lyrics to the song and added it to the song as a video, and then it closes with the picture. But I wanted to share that because I was just so flattered when somebody put this together on our behalf. So without further ado, here is the song, Becky and James.
Becky and James, they share a love for the silver screen, full of dreams and technicolor scenes. Their hearts convene. He took her to a first Bergman film, a moment so surreal. Their friendship bloomed like a classic romance. It's the real deal. He's a movie buff, she's a Hollywood minotaur. They spend their days immersed in stories, a celluloid reservoir. From black and white to vibrant hues, they've seen it all. In their own world of magic and fantasy, they stand tall. Becky and James, a cinematic duo that shines so bright. Their friendship strong, no termination in sight. Through laughter and tears, they've weathered all the years in this celluloid love. Their bond is crystal clear.
So who is that guy with all that hair holding you up at the end? I don't recognize him.
I didn't know you were gonna play the whole thing.
Oh hell yeah, absolutely.
This
My show, I can do what I want.
I know, yeah. This was like crazy. Like I was so floored by the fact that somebody wrote a song about us. Like, what's happening? Because so we've been friends
And
for
not
20
only a song, but a good song, like
a good song.
interesting lyrics that are accurate.
Yes, they're accurate. You did take me to my first Bergman film that I think you just dropped something that I don't know a lot of fans know, that we actually dated for a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people know that about us. But yeah, so that was a date, but until Jamie ripped my heart out. So he did break my heart, by the way. So to say that. But anyway, that was a long time ago. But I just love how fans like shipped us. Someone actually thought wanted we moved them enough that they wrote a song about us. Is incredibly flattering. And the song is so great.
Yeah. Well, for people who don't know, Becky and I first interned together summer 98 at Out of the Blue Entertainment, and we just have remained friends. So it is you in my cold, dead heart, you are the brightest, warmest part of it. One of my oldest friends in the movie biz, and I always love discussing flicks with you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Jamie.
All righty. Well, now that they've gotten all that sentimental, gooey stuff out of the way, we can start getting into the nitty gritty when it comes to Comic-Con. So I know that obviously everybody wants to talk about Hall H and Robert Downey Jr. and that sort of thing, but Comic-Con, it's an incredibly visceral, intense, immersive experience where whatever you're doing, that's like you only got walleye vision. Like it's impossible to take it all in. There's just so much going on. But I know that on Wednesday night you have a tradition of doing a little shopping, and my friend Adam Rakoff, who is a little bit nerdy when it comes to certain elements of his fandom, like Dungeons and Dragons and so on and so forth, did you manage to score Adam any Terminator gear, D&D gear? Lay it on me. What were the results of all your shopping?
Yeah, well, most of the shopping was for me because, as you know, I'm a Terminator fan. There's not a lot of Terminator stuff out there. But I did get stuff for Adam. There's a one of my favorite t-shirt companies called Super 7. They did 2 pop-up shops throughout San Diego. One was for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and one was for Dungeons and Dragons. So I knew he was a massive Dungeons and Dragons fan, as you are, Jamie, and your whole crew. So
you're part of the crew as well. You also name your paladin that you win that campaign.
Oh my God, I totally forgot. I was gonna look it up because it's been like, by the way, can we all start playing again? I would love to start playing again.
Totally. And you just name the time, we'll make it happen. Becky had I think a 2nd level paladin, which I cooked up for the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. For anybody out there who understands the difference between like 1st and 2nd and 3rd edition D&D, et cetera, and so forth, Becky is a 1st edition D&D player, which immediately makes her cooler than every other edition that is out there.
And I had the coolest name ever, and I literally, I'm on no sleep right now, so I don't remember her name. But we were with Matthias and Bill, and it was amazing. And Bill and I fought a lot, I think, because what was he?
He's a little more bloodthirsty. He was playing a drow magic user / thief. And Matthias, I believe, was a druid, and you were playing a paladin. And the 3 of y'all, you managed to clear the first half of Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, but we bailed on the campaign before y'all attempted to attack.
Well, it was Christmas. It was Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then we just never convened. But it was amazing, and I had a lot of fights with Bill because I was very much true to my character, and I'm like, we can't hurt this person. He was like, just beat him up, and
that's
like,
what they call it, a role-playing game. It's not a video game. It's a role-playing game. People are playing roles.
Yeah, we know we needed to take care of this person, and let's always think of maybe I always gave people the benefit of the doubt,
and they turned out to be a traitor. But that is a spoiler for people who've not played Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh.
So sorry, but so let me show you. So anyway, I went to. Let me have a bunch of stuff here. I went to. Oh, here it is. The Dungeons and Dragon offsite sent a bunch of pictures. So there was. This is an unsealed trading card. 24 packs in here. So Adam,
from the early 80s, or is that like retro or something new?
It's Dungeons and Dragons, the animated series. I think it's retro.
Okay, because that was like 1983. I was about to say, if that's been sealed for 40 years.
No, it's new. It's new this year, but they based it off of these characters. So what's funny is he just told me he wanted a wax pack. So wax packs for $7. So I went in there and I'm like, okay, there was a bunch of different ones. I think it was 4 variants of. So I said, which one do you want? And he's like, can I get this?
All of them?
Yeah, all of them. He's like, can you see if I can buy the sealed pack? And I'm like, wait, what's happening? And I'm like, I don't even know if they do that. By the way, sorry, I keep adjusting this, but apparently my head's too small for these headphones. Sorry. Yeah. I can what?
Yeah, adjust it like this.
Like this?
No, see that?
Sorry, we're getting technical. Yeah, but I think it's all the way, Michael.
Is it?
Yeah.
No. You can pull it down more.
Can we? Sorry, this is totally. Can Michael come in and help me? I have
Absolutely, Michael. I should also give a quick plug to the great Michael Rafferty.
Okay. Oh my God, I feel like I'm a celebrity right now, right?
There we go.
So Rafferty, his service is called A+
Oh, so you make it
Voiceovers, and so
bigger?
yeah,
Yeah,
if you're in the
okay.
LA area and you want to record or do voiceover, hunt down Michael Rafferty from A+
You can
Voiceovers.
push it. You can push it down if you need to tighten it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, great. Okay, so hi, that was Michael, and now I feel like my hair looks weird. Okay. Anyway, so this was a lot of money, and so I asked him, they said, oh yeah, sealed 168. I'm all okay. So yeah, Adam, you owe me a lot of money. You need to PayPal me for toot sweet for this because it was a lot of money. So, and then the other thing. I also got, and you could buy these on frightrags.com. I got a Halloween an old comic book cover cup, and I got a Terminator wax pack of trading cards for me and Adam. I haven't opened mine yet, so I know you're not supposed to open it, but I actually care about opening mine.
Or you buy one to save and one to open. Or
yeah. So just real quick, I'm gonna open mine because I want to see what's inside.
Is there any bubble gum in there?
Ooh, no, we get Sarah Connor. And we get Skynet. Oh, sorry.
This is like an unboxing video. It's gonna go.
Yeah,
viral.
unboxing. No, it's okay. They don't need to. So it's Sarah Connor, Skynet, Kyle Reese. Ooh, I got Kyle Reese one. It's amazing. I know, dreamy. Tech Noir. Hi there. Come with me if you want to live. Is Reese crazy? There's a trading card called Is Reese Crazy? It's Cyberdyne Systems, and it's like holographic. They're not too bright. Oh my God, there's too many of them for me to read them off. Anyway, this is freaking amazing. Oh my God, there's 15 cards. Hi there. So anyway, this is really cool. You can buy these on frightrags.com, but I got them a booth. And now I feel like I messed up my thing even more. And hold on a second. I think my hair is even messed up. Anyway, this is real on the thing. I also got this. This is a Star Trek Hallmark ornament that they only made like very, very limited amounts, and I never can buy these. They have them at
Christmas ornament.
Christmas ornament,
gotcha.
Because I don't know if you guys know, but I have a Star Trek Christmas tree because I have so many ornaments. I actually have a tree, I own Star Trek tree and beyond my family tree. I think I have 55 Star Trek ornaments, so this is my 56th. But it's from Generations, Star Trek Generations. Anyway, I actually bought an extra one of these because I thought my friend's uncle didn't get one and he didn't. So now I have an extra one. So Adam's going to get first pass if he wants it. But if he doesn't want it, put your note in the comments and I can I can sell it to you. And I won't gouge you. It was $35. So I will give you for the price. I won't gouge you. But usually I don't even try because they sell out like opening night. So I usually just pay $50 more just to get it on eBay because I can't deal. But actually I asked them, this is an interesting fact. I'm like, I got it Sunday yesterday and I was shocked they still had some. And I asked them, what's the deal? And they said, oh, it's because we usually split our inventory between San Diego and New York Comic-Con.
Gotcha.
But they said what they found out was that the majority of these Star Trek ornaments were being sold at San Diego. So they said, screw New York Comic-Con. So I think the most of their inventory was at San Diego. And that is why they have so many. That's why I was able to get even two, because normally it's crazy. Anyway, I bought a bunch of other stuff, which I don't think you want to spend an hour for me to show you all the crap I got. But that's some of the coolest ones I got. I also got like a MTV t-shirt and a She-Ra shirt and some other cool stuff, but that was the stuff that I liked the best, I guess.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then so the Wednesday night is preview night. So if you guys don't know, that's when it's like 3 hours on the floor where we mostly do shopping. And I don't think there's panels anymore on Wednesday
Were there
night.
any like stampedes like you see? What's it like? What's that day after Thanksgiving is like the Black Friday sale and everybody ends up getting murdered trying to get into Walmart and that sort of thing? Were there any situations like that where people trying to get like their life-size Galactus statue and things like that?
Well, I think Sunday is the craziest day because that's when things start people don't want to
Prices start
carry
dropping.
everything back. And so you'll see some booths like 50% off. Of course, none of the ones I want are those ones, but they had some Hello Kitty booth that was like 50% off, and it was like freaking Black Friday, and I had to just get out of there. People were like freaking out about
People
the
started
Hello
sharpening
Kitty
their
stuff.
pencils and were ready.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to get stabbed with the Hello Kitty pencil, so I will just go around this one. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then did you want to talk about the activations, or do you want to do that another time?
You'll lay it on me. Start from the beginning. What are the activations?
Yeah, so there were a lot of activations outside of Comic-Con. And so, the outside of Comic-Con, you don't need your pass to get in. So if you want to come down and get the Comic-Con experience without actually being able to go inside, there are activations. The most popular,
the entire downtown San Diego area gets taken over, where it's like, what's it called? The Gas Lamp or Gaslight District?
Gas Lamp.
Yeah, the Gas Lamp District, where it's all, cobblestone streets and like bars and restaurants. But basically, for like a mile in any direction, it's all Comic-Con, even if it's not officially Comic-Con.
Yeah. So the most popular one, second year in a row, the one that was like the line down the street, insane. Paramount Plus came back and they did the lodge. So they essentially, it looks like a snow-capped lodge, like a wooden cabin type thing, and you go inside, and then there's always a bunch of different things to do. This year, last year you could get like a caricature of you as a Star Trek character. This time you could make your own Star Trek shirt, so you got picked out what you wanted on your shirt. And then they also had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They gave you pizza, like you got in, it's a pizza section. You could do like, there was an If photo op and a Dexter thing. And I think it was Dexter. And and the Ink Master was there, and they gave you tattoos. So I got the temporary tattoos. I got the Vulcan salute on. I was able to go twice. On Sunday, I got the Vulcan salute. And on the,
when are you going to throw down and get a real Star Trek tattoo?
Oh my God. So my dad thought I got a real tattoo because they have a photo and it says Ink Master and it looks like they're giving me a real tattoo, but I wouldn't know if I would be smiling if I got a real tattoo, but maybe. Anyway, but it was funny. My dad was convinced, and my mom texted me, she's like, your dad doesn't believe that that's not a real tattoo. I was like, okay, because it's huge. It was this huge tattoo. Actually, I still have some of it still on me. But anyway, it was super fun, and that was a crazy one. And I got really lucky because I got like kind of like early access to it because I'm a Star Trek fan. So they kind of like give sometimes early access to Star Trek fans, which is really cool. And so that was cool. The other ones that I didn't go to but were insane was, I heard they had a Penguin one where it's sort of, you go into that club that the Penguin runs, what's his name? Something. Anyway.
I don't know, but speaking of the Penguin, let me interrupt for 11 seconds because I have a clip from the upcoming show coming to HBO in September.
America's a hustle. Not that I'm complaining.
Anyway, that's coming to HBO in September. Hopefully be good. I would love to have a show where I can do weekly breakdowns. We'll wait and see. But yeah, Colin Farrell leaning all the way in. And apparently it starts like only a couple days after the Batman film from 2022. I think that's when the Matt Reeves film came out. So it just picks up right where it left off. Ganglands and chaos. Everybody's fighting for power. And so, yeah, hopefully it'll be cool. But it's part of many Batman-themed projects in live action and the small screen, big screen, and also an animation all coming our way over the next, 2 months.
Yeah, they said that was one of the panels at Saturday Hall H. They said it takes place a week after the events of the Batman movie.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so they did an activation which was going into his club, and they you can get like free food and stuff, and it was very much modeled after his club. There was another one that was the Winchester from Shaun of the Dead. And then there was another one that was a Dexter one where they like saran wrapped you on like a table so that you could look like you were saran wrapped, but I don't know if they cleaned that saran wrap because they were just saran wrapping people over and over. I don't really know about that one. The other really cool one,
very hygienic.
I know, exactly,
like all of Comic-Con.
The other one, which I went to multiple times because I'm a Trek fan, was Here Within, who does a lot of Star Trek apparel. I bought another jacket. I have like 3 jackets now from them. I got a Section 31 jacket when I was there, but they have like a coffee. They give out themed coffee, and it's really cool. I got like last year I got a Vulcan vanilla latte. This year they named it Captain's Pike Place vanilla latte. They have different lattes, mocha lattes, and it's super fun. And that was also really fun. You could try on like some of the Here Within stuff, decide if you want to buy it at the booth, and that was really fun. And this year was called Wrath of Khan, like but with CON. So next year they're going to do something around like Search for Spock, but the third one they're a big Star Trek fan. So that was really fun. I went to that. Tony Kim is like the creator of that of Here Within, and he was there, and he like actually knew who I was. I think it's because I buy so much stuff. Went to buy something, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and he had my email. And I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm buying too much stuff from you. The fact that you
Lady,
know who
you're
I am."
scaring us. Yeah.
I know, exactly. Anyway, so that was really fun. Those are the biggest activations. One of the biggest things which we should talk about that happened on Thursday night was I didn't go to it, but did you see about the Deadpool Wolverine panel and the whole debacle about getting in?
Well, I saw all the stuff involving the drones, but I didn't know about the debacle, so lay it on me.
Yeah, so Thursday they had panels all day. And usually Thursday, just so you know, for Hall H, you almost can always, I've never had an issue just walking in.
You can just stroll on in at your leisure. Saturday's the big day, meaning you got to spend all day in line on Friday.
And there's a lot of panels on Friday that can be tough. I mean, that are, a lot of people line up for. Like they have mostly Thursday's TV and Saturday's a little bit of TV, but mostly
But if you
film.
go Friday, you're not going to get to go Saturday.
Yeah. So, but Thursdays usually Paramount almost always has a panel. So they had a Transformers panel, and you could walk in. But the thing,
well, speaking of Transformers, I got another clip ready to rock. I'm not excited for this, but in that you mentioned it, Transformers 1 coming our way in the not so distant future.
Hey, watch where you're going.
What did you say?
It's not like he can transform.
Hey, Darkwing.
Oh, my finger can transform. Guess which one? Allow me.
I appreciate you having my back.
No matter what.
For me, it looks like it's made for toddlers. However, I will give it one compliment. They've removed all the human characters, which has been one of the big flaws of all the stupid Transformers live action movies, that the human characters are always the least interesting part of the movie. At least now they're realizing, well, let's just do a cartoon with just Transformers and Decepticons. So I will give them props for that, but it's obviously geared towards, toddlers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it looks actually more accessible because I wasn't that interested. I hate the Transformers movies. But I'm actually kind of interested in seeing this one, but it looks more accessible, maybe for kids.
If you have kids in your house, by all means, put it on and let them rock.
I think it's the first animated film since the 1986 animated one, Transformers the movie. But anyway, I heard they showed 3 clips at that, but they're not online. But anyway, what was interesting is that if you wanted to go to that, you could just walk on. I think Percy Jackson was another one you could just walk in. But once they announced several weeks ago before Comic-Con, they announced they were going to have a Deadpool Wolverine panel. So I thought, oh my gosh, forget it. It's over. Anyone that wants to go to that, it's kind of like Marvel being at the end of the day. They're just going to sit in Hall H all day. Because once you get into Hall H, you don't have to leave. You're in, and you
as long as you don't mind eating nachos all day, you're allowed to just stay there.
Yeah, but the Entertainment Weekly coined the phrase a long time ago, called them campers. Is like, so you essentially sit there and watch everybody's parade in front of you for all day. But if you try to go later, you can't go in unless somebody leaves. So if like 100 people leave, they let in 100. So anyway, Thursday's usually no problem, but when they had the Deadpool Wolverine panel at the end of Thursday, I thought, oh, forget it. There are people are going to spend all day in there just to be there for that. But then you heard that it was announced it was going to be a ticketed event, Deadpool Wolverine. And then it was revealed that they were going to show the movie on Thursday night. And everybody knew the stars were going to be there and everything. So once there was a ticketed event, you're like, great, they're going to clear out Hall H, and then the ticketed people are going to come in Thursday night. And I didn't even try for that because I wanted to see Deadpool Wolverine on the big screen. I don't want to see it in Hall H. So I didn't even try for that. But the big debacle is apparently a lot of people with tickets couldn't go in because what happened was everybody lined up with tickets, and then security didn't know what was going on. They got confused, and they let in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that didn't have tickets. So people who got tickets who were there didn't get in and were pissed. And then there's those people
And
who
hell hath no fury like a Marvel fan scorned.
yeah, so people were really angry about that, and also angry at the people who just didn't have tickets, who just said, oh, maybe we'll line up and we'll let in. And then security's just like, oh yeah, you're in line, not knowing that you need a ticket. So it was that was one of the
Also, when
biggest
passions are running high
controversies.
with Marvel freaks, there could be a riot. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
surprised
they make the Harry Potter fans seem tame by comparison.
yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't. It didn't get crazy, but it was enough for I wasn't there, but everybody was talking about it for like days about how messed up it was. But what was also really exciting was right after the panel, they did this massive. You can just look it up, Google it. It's really impressive. A whole drone show of Deadpool Wolverine. What was I feel really bad about. I didn't know this was going to happen. I actually was right next to Hard Rock. I was leaving Hard Rock at 10 o'clock. And right when the drone show started happening, and I'm just so, that's the thing about comic. I was in my little bubble and everybody was standing there and I saw there was fireworks, but I just assumed it was a fireworks show. I didn't know there was like, literally, if I just looked to my left, I would have
realize
saw
it was like a moving
no
marketing promotion.
I didn't know there were. I mean, online you're like, how did I miss this? Because it was literally I was walking this way and it was here, and all I had to do was turn my head. But instead, I was like in the zone, and I was actually pissed because everybody was standing. I'm like, why isn't anyone moving? Move! So I was like trying to maneuver around them, and it was hard. And I maneuvered around them. I got back to my hotel, and then I found out that if I just stood there and turned to my left, I could have seen everything. And it was because Petco Park,
like, who
which
are
is where it was.
Looking up in the air? Like that's how.
Yeah,
that's
it was
New York
right next to was right next to Hard Rock and right next to Hall H. And I just, because I'm an idiot, I just was like, instead trying to get around people. Like, I don't know why you're standing there.
Under the best of circumstances, you're going to be able to take in about 2% of Comic-Con
Yeah.
when you're there, so you get a pass.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy that it was right. It was happening right in front of me, and I just didn't see it. But yeah, that's what happens, is that you kind of get in the zone, and I was starving. So anyway. But that was really cool. That was also the big talk about the debacle about not getting in. And then the other big thing was the drone show, which again, you can just Google and you can watch the whole show. And it's pretty impressive.
And obviously the movie did just fine. Yesterday, everybody kept kind of raising their estimates on like what the official box office was. And like initially they're saying 200, then they're saying 205. I think now the official tally is like 211, which makes it the 6th highest opening ever, irrespective of the rating, obviously for R-rated movies. Highest opening ever. So it was a big deal. Like for Marvel over the last 5 years, it's been very easy to criticize a lot of their shows and movies, but at least yesterday, Marvel had a chance to kind of thump their chest and say, we can still generate some box office from time to time.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it because when movies release the weekend of Comic-Con, you're just not going to leave the show to go to a movie. So I'm seeing it actually.
Not me. I saw Dunkirk at Comic-Con. I saw Inside Out at Comic-Con. I saw a bunch of movies at Comic-Con where I just sneak off and watch a flick.
Well,
admittedly, I left halfway through Inside Out, but for Dunkirk, I hung in there.
So I guess I'm not as big of a movie fan, I guess, as you, because you're the biggest one ever. But I'm not. I mean, I'm hardcore, but I'm in the Comic-Con. So I'm actually seeing it after this recording. After we're done, I'm going to go see it in IMAX. So I haven't seen it yet, but I will see it as of tonight. Yeah. So that was the other thing. Oh, did want to say also the big thing for a lot of females. I'm really for everybody. I don't want to pigeonhole just be girls, because it's really there's all sorts of fans and it's amazing. Is Her Universe. This was their 10th annual fashion show. It was Thursday night. If you've never heard of it, then you probably think it's not a big thing, but it's really,
I've got
really
3
significant.
sisters who work in fashion. I don't know if they are affiliated with Her Universe, but they would appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's gotten bigger and bigger every year. This was the 10th anniversary. It was probably the hardest one to get in. People lined up from 10 a.m. The fashion show started at 6. People were in line since 10 a.m. just to get wristbands to get in. It was a whole thing. It's one of my favorite fashion lines, and in the last few years they've expanded to guys fashion too. So it's not just female fashion, but they call themselves Geek Couture, and it's really cool. It's just people, fashion designers. They give them a theme, and they have to do they create a dress or an outfit or something, and then they award them based on it. It's really cool. And there's a girl called there's a DJ Amanda Jones, it's my favorite part of the whole fashion show is her music. And I actually was sitting right next to her, so I was able to go up to her and say, I just want you to know you're my favorite part of this fashion show. And I kind of geeked out. It's so funny that like you geek again, it's like your fandom, what you geek out about, no one knows, but she was amazing and I had the best time. And it was thousands of people lined up all day, and it was really just an extraordinary event. And I feel really lucky that I got to go. Oh, and then just so you can see, you get a little gift bag, her universe gift bag, and then this year they gave you your own. The Barbie was the theme. I got every single person that got there got their own Barbie doll. So I got a Barbie doll.
At what age did you give up playing with Barbie dolls?
I still play with Barbies with my kid, but yeah, when I stopped playing Barbies when I think I was like 11, 12, but then it was very exciting to have a little girl because now I have a Barbie house in my house and I play Barbies all the time.
I can play with Barbie as much as I want.
I know, it's
great.
great.
She'll be like, Mom, this is lame. I'm 12 years old now.
I know. No, my daughter's still really into it and I can't, and she gets that Barbie doll, but it's funny. Last year
as soon as she discovers boys, the Barbies will be set aside.
I know, but I was excited. I had Barbie in the rockers and I had them like, play opening for Dawkins when I was a kid. And I had Pepsi. There was a little Barbie Pepsi. I had a Pepsi stocked in my refrigerator in my Barbie dream house. So you can, it was, you can make Barbie what you want to, you could be anything you want to be. So anyway, I'm a big fan of Barbie, but that was an amazing fashion show that we went to.
Beautiful.
That I went to.
So anything else on Thursday that we should get to before your hell and damnation of experiencing the Hall H waiting process?
Oh yeah. No, the only other thing that I want to plug, which is just personal, is my friend David Boer. He did a big signing at Dark Horse for his comic Kanto, and I don't think I realized until my last day, and I tweeted about it yesterday. It was a huge Kanto banner in center stage at the Dark Horse booth, and that was very exciting. That like it's been him and Drew Zucker, who draws it, and his beautiful drawings. They created this comic. It's very, very popular. I think all the comics are now, what do they call it in their books when they're in the book?
Paperbacks.
Yes. So there's there's 2 volumes.
TPBs, if you want to sound cool.
Well, you taught me bagging and boarding last time because I didn't know what that was called, and you're like, it's called bagging and boarding. Anyway, it was very exciting, and it shared a room again with David, and he is just very exciting to see him, and he did a whole signing
again this year. Did you tell him that you're not his fucking intern?
I know. Well, this time he brought his own assistant.
Very nice, all right.
And he had
and board your own goddamn book.
Yeah, but he had another live stream, and he got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars he sold in an hour. So he's doing well. He's very successful, and it's very exciting to see him become went from lawyer to very successful lawyer now to very successful comic book. And it was just cool to see everybody lining up and freaking out and everything, and also to see like this massive Dark Horse booth and then have this huge Kanto banner in front. So just a plug to him. It's just really cool to see your friends get to see their dreams come true. So that was very exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's push on to Friday. There were some presentations which you missed due to being in Hall H, but let's start with, what is it like standing in line for Hall H now versus like the pre-pandemic era? Is it more insane, less insane, more unendurable, less? Like give people some visceral details, because all I remember is just my skin peeling off my arms for days from sunburn, because I was just foolishly unaware. Oh, you're going to be standing like on asphalt for like 12 hours in the sun. Maybe bring a hat, maybe bring sunblock, blah, blah, blah. So what is it like these days?
It's much better. It's much better organized. And actually you're not on the asphalt anymore. So several years ago, it used to be lined up right on the asphalt. Now the lines start right on the little island next to Joe's Crab Shack. So you're essentially, everyone's on the grass now. Until this spills out into the cement at some point, but the majority of everybody's on the grass, and that's where it starts. And then there's shoots. They're a machine now. 10 years ago, I think maybe it was like 12 years ago where I didn't get in after waiting in line for 15 hours. And that was the year that they didn't have wristbands yet. And hundreds and hundreds of people would cut in line because you cross the street and then people would just like cut in line. And
that's what I remember vividly, because everybody's obviously got like their little group and people are kind of coming and going throughout the day, but it's like, who's abusing this honor system, and everybody's looking at the people in front of them in line very suspiciously.
Yeah, so now it's like it's a down to a science. Comic-Con has a down to a science, and really the people in line have a down to a science. When we came in, we got to know the people in front of us, behind us, let them know how many people are in a group. And essentially when you're in line, you can hold the spot for 2 other people.
Gotcha.
So, and people are very aware of that. And I mean, if you're not following the rules, you're out. Like, it's people will just police each other. But what was amazing this year that they've never done before is usually when you're in line, they continue to condense it throughout the day. So you're moving as you go. So like if you do go to the bathroom, or if you do leave for an hour to go do something and your friends are saving your spot, you have to be like, where are you now? This time they didn't move you at all. So it was much harder if somebody wanted to cut or whatever, because
Gotcha.
you were in the same spot all day and you could see if someone was cutting or
if
not.
one area is swelling or not.
Yeah. So, and actually, so I was, this was also the most organized we've ever been. This is the year I did it with I'm in a Star Trek group called, Star Trek LA Away Team. Shout out to Yez who, runs it. There's a New York version, there's different versions, but I think LA is the best. And we do think, but it was pretty amazing. There was 50 of us that committed to doing it. We didn't allow anyone in after we signed up, and we had an Excel spreadsheet and we had shifts, and we policed those shifts. If someone was 20 minutes late, they were banned from the club and they were out of it. It was gnarly and it was awesome, but people were hardcore. I had to check people
What
in.
if they have like diarrhea from all that lovely San Diego Comic-Con food? That's one of my biggest complaints about Comic-Con, is that it's all hot dogs and nachos. I'm like, there are other kinds of food that you could serve in this giant convention center. Like at New York Comic-Con at the Javits Center, there's basically a food court down the bottom with like 100 different kinds of food. And there's a giant line of food trucks outside selling like lobster roll sandwiches and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
At least in years past, Comic-Con's food options have been subpar.
Well, one thing I learned this year, so Joe's Crab Shack is right next to us and it's like really great food. I went in and I'm like, oh, can I order for pickup? And they said you have to do it online. And I'm like, great. So I ordered for pickup. I had like this 3-course dinner in the Hall H line. I had fish tacos. I had a s'mores dessert. It was like this whole thing. And I ordered it and I went to pick it up and it was amazing. So if you think ahead, you can get good food. No, we let people have a reprieve and got to know people, but it was hardcore. People showed up. And it was just a lot of camaraderie. We didn't allow people not to do their shifts. We had a cutoff time of people being able. It was a whole machine. But anyway, it was very exciting, and I made a lot of amazing friends this year. I got this. Got a Star Trek bracelet, a friendship bracelet. It's live long and prosper. It was just really just a lot of Star Trek love. And what was really funny, everybody, kind of once you get a wristband the night of, that's what's great about it, is now you think of a wristband out that night, you can go back to your room, get a good night's sleep, take a shower, and then just be back in line before 7:30. So what's funny is all of them sort of got back in line earlier, and I was at a different part of the group, but I wasn't going to meet up. So finally, when I got into the shoots next to Hall H, they shouted out to me. They're like, Becky, she's part of our group. And the Hall H people were like, no, sorry, you can't go that way. And then they said, no, the head of the group, her name is Yez, it's like, no, she's might want to meet my people. And then the Hall H person was immediately like, oh, I'm sorry, this way. And I got to go through.
They were cowed into submission.
Yeah, but what's hilarious was I go, and then the whole LAOA team started cheering. It was very exciting. I felt like I was famous, but I wasn't. But what's really funny was I overheard a guy behind us in line turn to his friend, and he was like, oh yeah, she's definitely part of that group, because I was wearing the Star Trek jacket, and it was like no question that she's one of the nerds part of that group. Like there was no question that I was a Trekker. So it was really funny. But anyway, the Hall experience is really extraordinary. It's not for everyone. I waited in line for 17 hours. A lot of people don't want to do that. And
I did it 1 year. I'm glad I got to do it one time. I will never do it again.
Yeah. This year was interesting though. Not as many people got in line. You don't know that till you know it. And I got a C wristband. No, we got
a B. I saw you promoting it.
Sorry. God, Jesus. That's why I have no sleep. So sorry about that. I got a B wristband. The first time I ever gotten B. I usually get C or D. What we didn't know, and again, you don't know this until you know it. The next morning they were still giving out wristbands. So you could have just had a full day of Comic-Con and just gotten in line Saturday morning and still gotten in, but you don't know that till you know it. So people were lucky. And then I was even sitting next to in a Hall H somebody who said they got in line that morning at 7:30 a.m. and they still got in. So I think some people got scared and not as many people lined up because they're like, I'm not doing that. So that's why there were actually what you could have gotten in line. I think essentially if you after 8 a.m. there was no way you were getting in a Hall H Saturday morning. But you didn't have to spend all day and Friday in line. But it's every year it's different. You never know. And I don't want to risk that. I rather just, wait in line.
Gotcha. Well, while you were in line, there was a little news and announcements for a couple other big shows and movies. And Todd Phillips very briefly got a lot of pushback because he said that his version of Arthur Fleck and the Joker sequel will never evolve into the Clown Prince of Crime. And I was like, you know what? You would have been better off just saying nothing, because everybody, until you specify what the future direction of the character is, everybody would just assume the best or hope for the best. But as soon as he said it'll never become that character, anyway, he got a lot of flack for his interpretation of the character. But whatever. But as far as other,
did you have an issue, or you don't care?
I mean, Todd Phillips, he's a comedy director. And so I just think it's like this weird experiment that he's getting to do all these R-rated superhero movies. And I think the fact that he's making a musical with Lady Gaga, I'm like, well, clearly he's not trying to replicate like the grittiest version of Gotham imaginable. So I will go in with an open mind. But the fact that it is not going to become a Joker that more or less is the Clown Prince of Crime, and it's a musical, I'm not expecting a repeat unless the music is just awe-inspiring. Like, if it's the kind of music where everybody wants to buy the soundtrack and everybody's tapping their foot and just loving it, it'll be a different kind of experience. But I remain very much in like kind of wait and see posture.
Do you think, because I think it's not marketed this way, do you think there's a lot of people that aren't aware it's a musical? Because you can't tell it's a musical from the trailer.
But every musical does that these days. They'll make musicals, but they won't let you know it's a musical. Like Wicked, or the freaking the Willy Wonka prequel or whatever it came out back in December. It's like, why make a musical and then hide the fact that it's a musical? Lean into it, embrace it. But I think they recognize most people fucking hate musicals. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you think people are going to be pissed though that aren't aware that go? I wonder if that's what's going to happen there.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Sharpen your pencils.
We'll have to see. Yeah, exactly. Sharpen your pencils. That's our new thing.
Absolutely.
Oh, that should be our hashtag for this episode.
Totally. But speaking of sharpening pencils, I started sharpening pencils after a different presentation for a little show. Actually, not a little show. It's the most expensive show ever made. But The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 2 coming our way on August 29th.
Who is this man?
He is no man. He deceived me.
Now, for people who don't know, it is the most expensive show ever made. And there was a stat released that only 37% of people who watched season 1 actually managed to make it to the end. My prediction is that at a certain point, Amazon's going to realize that they are basically burning hundreds of millions of dollars a year for a show that at best is thunderously mediocre. At worst, just a total creative abomination. And it's like, I think they've recognized we've lost everybody who actually likes reading J.R.R. Tolkien. Maybe we can market this towards people who just want to see Galadriel and Sauron, making love. And there is a giant crowd of people. They're like, oh my God, Halbrand's such a thirst trap, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, this is a different kind of audience from people who actually like reading J.R.R. Tolkien. I will watch it. I will give it a chance. But for me, as someone who loves fantasy, everything about it feels inauthentic. And it just feels like a show written by and starring a lot of well-intentioned cosplayers who like fantasy and playing dress up, but lack any of the creativity or authenticity of someone like J.R.R. Tolkien. So it's on my radar, but I'm kind of sharpening my knives for my first review. But the first 3 episodes are coming August 29th. But where do you stand? And you were asking earlier, like, who is Theo? Theo is one of those little kids in the show where, as you're well aware from Wrong Reel over the years, every once in a while there'll be a show or a movie featuring child actors. I'm like, oh, like, when will we get to see that child skinned alive and like thrown in a volcano? Theo is one of those kids, so I had to name myself after that kid, who's one of maybe my least favorite character on that reprehensible show. But do you have any strong opinions, good or bad, about Rings of Power?
I didn't watch it, and I don't feel bad saying this, but I didn't think the marketing was very good for the first season. I thought that there was that one. I know. I think some of my friends may have marketed it.
Well, I don't know if you've even told people, if they haven't seen any of your previous appearances, Becky works in marketing. She works in international promotions at Sony. So when we discuss marketing, Becky knows whereof she speaks.
So there was a spot that I thought was a joke, but it was real for the first season, where like it was black and they just shot into one character and then they shot into another character, and I felt like they were like in a black space. It was one of the most bizarre spots I ever saw, and it looked like somebody made it on their computer, and I thought there's no way this is real, and it was real. Do you remember that?
I don't, but do you feel any loyalty to the show in that the showrunners were writers on Star Trek Beyond, the last Star Trek movie to come out? That's how they got tapped to do this. And I
Yeah.
think they're the worst writers in showbiz today, based exclusively on their work on the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Like,
Yeah,
if you like something a lot, you can always smell an imposter or a charlatan or a casual fan, the same way you'd be able to smell an imposter or a charlatan if somebody's talking about Star Trek, but have clearly never watched Star Trek. These writers, they come across to me as people who saw an opportunity, grabbed it, more power to them. But I have no faith in or confidence in their talents or abilities.
Yeah, I just don't. My husband's loves Lord of the Rings. He likes Game of Thrones. He has no desire to watch. I think he started and he wasn't interested. So I think of that.
There you go. He's part of that 37% or the 73%, which did not finish.
Yeah, I'm a chief. I'm a champion of Star Trek Beyond. I know I don't know if that's a controversial take. I really loved it. I think when we did our rankings, I actually ranked it as my fifth favorite Star Trek film, which is kind of insane and very.
You might have had a recency bias.
Yes, I did. And actually, I think I probably have to think about it, and it probably wouldn't be number 5 anymore. But I really enjoyed that film. But I didn't, venture. It's funny, on one of my first dates with my husband, we were 26, and it was one of the Lord of the Rings movies came out. God, what year it was? It was like 2003. I don't know which one that
would
was.
Have been Return of the King.
Yes. So he asked me very excitedly if I wanted to go to a midnight showing, and that was before you could do, that was back in the day when Jamie and I were back in the early 2000s and the 90s, you couldn't buy assigned seating, so you had to line up.
Got in line like for Hall H, but for every movie, I would get in line.
Movie.
I remember I would get in line like at 6 a.m. at theaters for like 10 a.m. like opening day screenings, and it was, let's just say less convenient than it is today.
Yeah. So he was this cute boy that asked me on a date when I was 26, and he's like, let's go see the Lord of the Rings, whichever one it was, midnight showing at the AMC Century City. And I was like, oh God, but I really liked him. So I said, okay. And at this point, by the time I turned 26,
he's like, we're going to get there at 7. Hope you don't mind.
I know. So we ended up like playing cards, and like there was a ton of people in line. And I remember that was the last time I had Red Bull, because I was like, I'm never going to get through this 3-hour movie at midnight. Anyway, and then I had Red Bull for the second time since then, at Hall H Friday night. I was such a disaster from having 2 hours of sleep, and I drank Red Bull. I'm like, oh, the last time I had this was when I was 26 and I saw Lord.
It'll give you wings, as they say in the ads.
Yeah, but I scored points with my husband, and then he ended up asking me to marry him, years later. But anyway, so I got to spend it with a cute boy and watching a movie, so that was good. But I remember like, oh God, I can't say no, because he wants to see it, and I like him.
The fact that he does not watch Rings of Power makes his stock rise in my eyes, because there are Lord of the Rings fans who like the show, and there are those who don't. And I'm most decidedly in the camp of the latter. But that was not the only thing revealed on Friday. James Gunn obviously is now running DC for Warner Brothers. They're doing some live action. They're doing some animation. And he unveiled a trailer for Creature Commandos, which is an extension of the Suicide Squad characters, or Task Force X, but they've swapped up the human characters with monsters. And here's a little taste of Creature Commandos.
He's pissing!
This is your new task force.
So basically the premise is it's illegal now for Task Force X to use any humans of any kind. So instead they recruit monsters and robots and things like that to fill the ranks. I will give it a shot. I think James Gunn is going to be throwing a lot of things at the wall, hoping a lot of it sticks. Whether or not that'll stick, who knows, but it's coming in December of 2024. And just as you can tell from the tone, it's got a little bit of that James Gunn style of humor, but we shall have to wait and see if it is any good.
Yeah, I had never heard of it until you said you wanted to cover like it last night That's it looks interesting. Oh, one thing, this is totally just using offshoot of Lord of the Rings season 2 coming out August 29th. Another thing coming out August 29th is Terminator Zero, which is an anime show.
On Netflix.
And I was on Netflix, which I don't know if you guys know, August 29th is Judgment Day, and sometimes my password for things. Probably shouldn't have given that out, but it's in for anyway. August 29th is an important date, and I'm very excited about Terminator Zero. And I was actually kind of crushed, and I thought it was a missed opportunity of Netflix not to have done a panel at Comic-Con when the show comes out a month later.
Totally.
And I mean, a lot of people don't know about it, but I'm super excited about Terminator Zero, and I'm trying not to read a lot about it. But I know, I think, I can't remember, somebody, they're the creators of it are people that have done some really renowned anime, which I can't know off the top of my head.
I'll watch the first episode just to give it a shot, but also I feel like no matter how much you love a particular franchise, I feel like Sturgeon's Law occasionally will apply or almost always applies. Are you familiar with Sturgeon's Law?
No.
So
Enlighten
Theodore
me.
Sturgeon,
Educate
when
me,
he was
Jamie.
defending science fiction from people who don't like it, he was quoted as saying, "No doubt 90% of science fiction is crap. Then again, 90% of anything is crap." And that Sturgeon's Law has been a catchphrase for basically every franchise ever since. So even for things that I love and adore, like Lord of the Rings, I feel like Sturgeon's Law applies. I worry Sturgeon's Law might apply to the cartoon, but I will give it a shot, and I will try to open up my heart for a new Terminator experience. But for me, give me Terminator 1 and 2. That's all I need. Same with like Star Wars. Give me the first 3 movies. That's all I need. Like at a certain point, I just let them go, and I just I no longer allow myself to be hurt or wounded by subpar experiences.
Yeah, I'm obviously open-minded. I love Terminator content. And then one thing that I do know about it is Timothy Oliphant and Rosario Dawson are voices. And the trailer is out if you want to check it out. I think it looks amazing. But again, I haven't seen any of it. I don't know if it's good or not, but I'm all in. And I was actually really, the poster I think is extraordinary. And I think the release date August 29th is perfection. Of course, they had to do it.
What is your favorite piece of Terminator content that you've seen?
Since T2?
Yeah, like if you disregard the first 2 movies.
Well, I know it's controversial, but Terminator Salvation means a great deal to me. I worked on the marketing of it, and I think
if you said Terminator Genesis, I might have fallen out of my chair, but Salvation.
Terminator Salvation means a great deal to me. I got to see the future war, get to Reese to become the man he's destined to be. Well, they'll become, Reese to become the hero that he's destined to be, and then you get to see John Connor. I think it's extraordinary. It's cool because it's Terminator in the daylight. I could go off on forever. Adam and I actually did a podcast pilot for a show covering all my work on Terminator Salvation, and I'm really proud of it. And I hope to one day, it's in sort of this locked away in a vault, but I do hope to release that someday because it just celebrates Terminator Salvation and how I marketed it. And I think it's it's really it's a really cool story, and the movie means a lot to me. So I would say Terminator Salvation.
Gotcha. Well, Terminator adjacent, we have another sci-fi franchise, which also had a little panel on Friday. But any rumblings about Alien Romulus? Like the final trailer came out a week before Comic-Con, so I don't have a clip because it's already kind of yesterday's news. But all I know is that Alien Romulus takes place in 2142, which is 20 years after Alien, but well before Aliens, which takes place in 2179. And from what I've seen, it looks like they've basically taken like the best scenes from Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3 and tried to kind of put a fresh coat of paint on them for quote unquote modern audiences. But what are your feelings on Alien Romulus?
I'm excited. I think all the footage looks great. At the panel, I think they show 3 clips that they haven't released online, so you can't see them. But I think it was August 16th is when it comes out.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah,
Martin
so
Kessler and I this Saturday are doing a giant recording where we're going to actually tackle the entire Alien timeline from the point of view of games, comics, movies, etc. Going from basically, if you start chronologically, it begins with Alien versus Predator because that's a prequel. And we're going to go all the way up through Alien Resurrection, which is sequentially the latest in the overall timeline. So I've done all my homework. I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to discuss Alien Romulus. Feta Alvarez has a ton of talent. I hope he delivers.
I like him a lot. Yeah. I think he's great.
Yeah.
The
Good
big
thing.
thing that actually came out of that panel was what they gave. Sometimes they give you premiums at the panel, or sometimes they give you a ticket that you can fulfill to get a premium later. The big thing, also big talk of Comic-Con was Friday night, and that panel, they gave everybody a face hugger. And
Okay,
it was
nice.
really, if you look it up online, really detailed, really cool, and it's massive. So it fits your
Does
whole
anything
face.
actually go down your throat?
No, they don't. They don't supply that. So no,
Yeah,
they
well,
don't supply.
cowards. They should have
Yeah,
gone for it.
yeah. And then some people die.
It should
Yeah,
be
but
an optional attachment. Like if you want to deep throat your face hugger and really feel like an egg has been implanted, it'll allow you to go all the way down your esophagus.
I don't know. You could hear Mike laughing. He thought that was very funny. Yeah, it was. If you just Google it, I mean, it was a massive thing, and they had, and actually at the panel, you got it. So a lot of people walked out Friday night with these face hugger things. People had them during the show, but that was a big talk of it. Was how that's probably the best giveaway they gave throughout the show. Although I didn't have time to look it up, but my parents heard Comic-Con news on Friday morning. Apparently at some panel on Thursday, they gave somebody like $3,000 in cash. Like, I don't know how they gave it away or what panel it was. My parents were like, I heard they gave away money. Did you get the money? I'm like, okay, no, I don't even know what panel that was, but somebody got a lot. Somebody just happened to get lucky and just got $3,000 from being, they've never really given money away before, but apparently that happened on Thursday and my parents heard about it. So
All right. I would love to know which show or movie they're trying to get.
I know.
People always talk about paid shills, and every time I leave a positive review about anything on YouTube and somebody disagrees, like, nice work, you're such a paid shill. I'm like, if they're offering checks for positive reviews, please give them my email address. I will gladly accept their money. But yeah, this whole paid shill phenomenon, maybe it actually is a real thing if they're handing out $3,000 cash.
Yeah, I wish I had time to look it up, but I was just like nonstop. And then we're recording this, pretty early on Monday morning, the day after. But apparently they gave money away on Thursday. I don't know for what.
All right,
but
very nice.
Look that up.
Well, just to wrap up Friday, we also had more news about The Legend of Vox Machina, which is season 3 is coming October 3rd. And that Becky's now officially a D&D player. I'll just say that of all the adaptations I've seen of Dungeons and Dragons throughout my 48 years on this planet, that is my favorite adaptation of D&D that I've seen. I hope season 3 will be good. And they also have The Mighty Nine, which is a fresh campaign for the same cast and crew, but that story takes place 30 years after the events of Legend of Vox Machina. Basically, when he was doing all of his Critical Role seasons, they had several seasons for one campaign. Then they had a fresh campaign, The Mighty Nine. So anyway, Matt Mercer and all of his family and friends, they have created a true animation empire out of playing tabletop RPGs. So for like D&D nerds and that sort of thing, that he's living the dream, as they say. And
awesome.
I will look forward to Legend of Vox Machina season 3 with relish and delight. And Invincible season 3, they confirmed season 4 is coming. Season 2 kind of vanished and disappeared, and everybody's like, how come nobody's watching Invincible? They had this huge giant break between 1 and 2, and it just kind of fell out of the conversation. I think it is a cool animated series based on a cool comic, but whether or not they can reclaim those heights remains to be seen. But any investment in Invincible is a show on Amazon based on Robert Kirkman's comic, which ran for, I think, 146 issues or so.
No, I think that last year's Comic-Con, I was sat through a Hall H panel of it, and you were like very excited. Yeah, I was like, that was so boring, and you were like, this is so great. This is why it was great. I'm like, oh, okay. So
yeah, I do like Invincible, but it has not caught fire the way like something like The Boys has on Amazon. Amazon's I don't know if they had a big animation hit yet, but we'll get to more animation at Amazon when we get to the events of Saturday, because they had a panel about Batman Caped Crusader. But any final words on Friday before we push on to Saturday, where you got to soak in the entire Hall H experience?
The Friday. Yeah, just one thing to say. There was a film festival, International Film Comic-Con does a film festival. And my friend Julia Marchesi directed a short, and she was chosen to be in the short film festival, and she got it like a certificate. So only one, I had a few hours that I didn't wasn't in the Hall H line, and that was so that I could go over to the Marriott Marquis to see her short, and her actors were there, and I did a Q&A. I missed 2 opportunities to see the short previously, so this was my first time seeing it. It was very exciting.
And what was the name of that documentary she made about the New Beverly?
Out of Print.
Gotcha.
Which is really amazing. I think it's available to rent. It's got like a ton of directors in it. It's pretty much it's wide. It's just like the story of how New Beverly came to be, and she filmed. I mean, there's like at least 10 directors that she
should have interviewed us about going to the New Bev.
I know.
On fucking 9/11.
I know.
Starring James Cagney. A lot of people process 9/11 in different ways. Becky and I went to the New Bev.
Yeah, Jamie and I were shell shocked on 9/11, and so we went and saw White Heat.
All right,
and that's how we. Yeah, but anyway, it was again, congratulations to Julia. It was really cool to see her be able to come to Comic-Con for the first time with her movie, and the short was great. It's called I Know What You Need, and it's based on a Stephen King short story. There's a thing called Dollar Baby where you I think it's now no longer, I think they finally retired it, but you can pay $1 to Stephen King to get rights for a year, I think, to one of his short stories, and she got approved and got to make this film 3 years ago, and it came out I think last year at festivals and won all sorts of awards, and then she got
I've
to
had
play
several
it.
interactions
really cool.
with her online. She's always been nice as hell, but I've been a poor contact in terms of supporting her work, so I'll definitely be hunting down her films.
Yeah,
online.
I think it's about a half hour. It's really, really great. It's set in the 70s, and it's really phenomenal, and I'm glad you were able to say that about her. But she's pretty great, and I can't believe that she's my friend, because I've been a fan of hers way longer than I was her friend, and it's just cool that I get to call her my friend now.
So I guess that is the opposite of the old cliche, never meet your heroes. In this case, you can meet your heroes and they turn out to be all right individuals. But before we get into the events of Hall H, because I imagine there's going to be we're going to do the deep dive, I must have a quick pee break. So I'm going to play my little official Wrong Reel pee break video, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, Becky, let's test your knowledge of Super Nintendo gaming. From which game does that song come?
You mentioned it before, and I don't remember. It's not Castlevania, which would
Not
be
gonna
you
say-
should
it's from
use
a game called,
Castlevania.
Castlevania's got some great music too, but that's from a
Yeah.
game called Shadowrun, which originally was a tabletop RPG, which merges science fiction and fantasy. But they made a great Super Nintendo game out of it, and so I've always loved that track. It slaps, as Bill Scurry would say.
Yeah, and I've listened to every single episode ever of Wrong Reels, so I should have that should have been osmosis. I should have remembered exactly what it was.
Well, if you have any video game soundtrack recommendations, I mean, for whatever reason, the video game industry is very YouTube friendly, where they let you use their content, their music,
Oh.
etc. The exact opposite of movies in the music industry. So if you have any cool recommendations for great video game music, send them my way.
Oh, nice. That
Zelda.
I will. But my thing,
Zelda.
Zelda. Mike said Zelda.
All right, Zelda it is.
Castlevania, the music is amazing of the original NES game from when we were kids, and it was funny because there's this.
Can you hum any of the songs? Do you remember them?
No, but there's a Dave Matthews song that there's some music, and I can't remember the name of the song. I'll have to look it up. Where there's like one of his songs, it sounds exactly like the music from Castlevania. And when I was in college, every time I would hear this Dave Matthews song, I'm like, is he stealing notes from Castlevania? Because it's almost the same music. And I never Googled it to see. I'm sure he didn't do that on purpose, but it's very reminiscent. By the way, I looked up my. Oh, nice. I looked up the name of my character because I was embarrassed. I remember my name, my paladin. It's Nova Hanfoy. What's the name of my character? Yes.
My name is Nova Hanfoy.
Yes.
Roar.
Yeah, and there was a reason Nova meant something and Hanfoy meant something, and I can't remember. But anyway, she's a badass, and here is what she looks like. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I remember recommending some art. You're like, I'd like to play a character that doesn't look like a porn star. I might find some other art.
Yeah, Jamie sent me characters that had their boobs spilling out, and I'm like, no, my paladin is gonna look badass and is not gonna be. And this is
like the Red Sonja, like chainmail bikini look.
Look how awesome she is.
I
She
remember
could
that
not.
art.
She's badass, and she's fully covered up because she doesn't need to show off her breasts. So yeah, I was funny. I should find the pictures here. I'm like there was just no. That's not her. So anyway,
Everybody wants different things from the fantasy.
Yes, everyone wants different things, but she's a badass, and I look forward to being Nova again soon. Hopefully, please let's play again.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Everybody's been waiting for Hall H breakdown. So we've got the Penguin, we've got Star Trek, we've got Marvel, we got a little Batman Caped Crusader. I don't know which order they all unfolded, so just lay it on me. Give us some details, because people can watch the trailers and get an idea, but what they don't get an idea about is the almost like religious hysteria people can experience while in Hall H. I mean, you were texting me like, why are people weeping and sobbing and like hyperventilating about particular announcements? So give us the deep dive. What took place in Hall H that people can't get from watching the trailers online after the fact?
Yeah, I think, because I'm sure what people are wanting to watch this even video about is to get to hear about Marvel, so we can get into that, because that's probably the biggest Hall H experience. So Marvel has been doing a panel almost exclusively on Saturday night forever.
They skip the every once in a while they'll skip it, but
every once in a while they'll skip it, and that's when it's easier to get into Hall H. But they typically choose the second to last panel of the night, and usually Kevin Smith's after. But it's kind of funny because everyone sort of doesn't remember that Kevin Smith is after, because people care about Marvel.
They've had,
and there's mass
you run out of
exodus
adrenaline, and once you run out of adrenaline, you're just numb to whatever comes after.
What's really funny is this Comic-Con programmer, like the head of Comic-Con, his name is Eddie Abraham. He made a faux pas on Saturday, and he's like, we're here for like last panel of the day, Marvel, and then someone off stage was like Kevin Smith, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, but we also have Kevin Smith, and I was like, oh my god, totally slipped the tongue, because of course we're all gonna mass exodus, but some people go to the Kevin Smith one after. But anyway, because it's at the close to the end, it started at 6 p.m. Is the reason why it's at the end of the day. And so that's why people will sit through the whole day. And maybe there's people who don't like Star Trek or don't like Lois and Clark or whatever they're showing. Sorry, I fixed this, and then now I'm like all messed up again. They will sit through the whole day just to get Marvel and endure all that even if they don't care, just for the Marvel. But usually it's like a big experience. Like sometimes it's you went to a Hall H with me one
When we
time.
went, they were showing a sneak peek of Infinity War, so people were losing their goddamn mind. It's the first time we saw Thanos reach up and like pull a piece of a moon and throw it at Iron Man. But we also saw some stuff related to. We saw an interview with Charlize Theron, which was cool. There's a giant Warner Brothers panel where they were interviewing Denis Villeneuve about maybe Dune. I can't quite remember what he was talking about, but anyway, I got to see the Warner Brothers kind of like wall extension. But Warner Brothers didn't really do that. They kind of threw out little DC content here and there across different panels, but they didn't have like their one big DC universe panel, which a lot of people thought was a missed opportunity because there's a little flick called Superman coming next summer.
Yeah, it's been I feel like it was 2018, 2017 maybe is the last time that Warner Brothers used to be Hall H, the first panel of the day on Hall H on Saturday. And then Marvel will be like the one of the second to last or the last. And Warner Brothers was nuts. Like I told Jamie when he sat with me
like
that
Jason
one time
came out and Gal Gadot came out. I mean, like they brought out all the stars.
And there's in Hall H there's curtains all around, and they will actually what they'll do is they'll use the screens. There's actually screens on the side.
Yeah, it's like it's like the Screen X format for people who are familiar with Screen X movies, where they take the sides and kind of stretch it and extend it. It's the Screen X technology, basically.
Yeah, so Warner Brothers was one of the only studios to utilize those, and so it was like it's a big deal. So, but Marvel's panels have been amazing to the point like years ago when they had Loki come out, Tom Hiddleston came out and was like in character, and he's like bow to me, and that was really exciting. It was like a concert, but I actually was prepared for it to be sort of a muted panel because there's been all this Marvel fatigue, and people were like, well, what are they even going to say? And that'll be interesting. And when we went, Jamie, you had a whole buzz about how amazing it was, and I ruined it for you at the beginning. Where
I was tripping on edibles, and I was starting to just feel my buzz. I was really kicking in, and you're like, by the way, I think Marvel sucks balls, and I'm not really interested in it. I was like, what? But don't worry, I'll get some revenge in a sec when you start talking about Section 31 and whatnot. So,
so by the way, I have never used the phrase "suck balls" in my life, but that's Jamie's interpretation of me saying I think I said something similar to like I'm not really a Marvel fan, and then you're like, what? But anyway, what's
now
exciting,
you have plenty of company, but in the summer of 2017, it was an easy time to be bullish on Marvel's prospects.
But just so we know, and I'm actually for anyone that doesn't, this is the first time listening, which I'm sure they're not. People love you and love your channel, but want to say if you are a first time listener, you're one of my friends that's listening for the first time, you guys are so lucky because Jamie, I've been in awe of Jamie since I met him 26 years ago. He knows more about movies than anyone I've ever met. I've known him for 26 years. And on top of the fact that you know everything about Ford and Orson Welles and any other obscure, European filmmaker, you also know a lot about the Marvel Cinematic Universe because you were obsessed with that. So for me, for all these Marvel panels are always fascinating for me to listen to because I go in and I get the experience on the ground, but I'm not vested in it. I'm not like looking down on anyone. It's like, that's their jam and whatever, but it's been interesting to observe. But Jamie's here who actually knows all the ins and outs of everything. So I'm actually excited just to be here to talk to you because I want you to tell me why certain things are impactful and why it was emotional for certain people, because I don't know. I'm like, I could get this as a big deal, but you know why, and you can articulate why. So it's very exciting.
But another thing to keep in mind, there's like the comic book reading population is always small compared to the movie going population. And so people are just freaking out mostly from a cinematic point of view.
Yeah.
But then with comics, like my dad read comics in the 60s, so he will freak out about different things for different reasons. I was a regular comic reader from like the late 70s up through about 2016. So I've got a few different eras that I kind of pull from, but everybody has like different arcs or different writers or different artists that they get inspired by. And if they see a movie or show that seems to be kind of tapping into something that they love, they at least think there's a possibility that they might do it justice. Like Captain America Civil War was a great example where they took the idea of the comic, they kind of left the comic alone, but they adapted the concept very successfully. But now we've been burned so many times by Marvel's Secret Invasion, which is one of the most embarrassing pieces of content that they've ever put out with like AI's opening credits and that sort of thing. People are a little bit more like cautious and wait and see. However, with this clip I'm about to share, as you can tell, the enthusiasm, at least in the Hall H on Saturday night, was genuine. So people lost their shit for
Yeah.
both in a positive and in a negative way. Like, what? There's like, you can't do that. Anyway, it melted people's brains. For me,
Yeah.
I'm like, at a minimum, it's a big swing. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. But what was it like being in Hall H when Robert Downey Jr. came out for the big reveal as Dr. Doom?
It was like the Beatles or something, like being back in the 60s and see. First of all, it was really, the whole panel in itself was very much like they started it off with, you know, the Deadpool and like the Deadpool choir. And so it was like a concert from the beginning, and it led up to all these, you know, films and whatever.
Yeah,
but when we got
Thunderbolts,
to
Fantastic Four, First Steps,
Captain America,
of Brave New World, and obviously the big announcement was 2026, we're going to get Avengers Doomsday, and then 2027 Avengers.
yeah.
Secret Wars.
So, but I wanted to talk in particular about, we can kind of go back in a second, but the end part was the part where people were mostly losing their mind, like that reveal. But honestly, the guy in front of me was losing it, wasn't even the RDJ moment. It was the fact that they were going to do I think it was Secret Wars. So
that's been public knowledge for a long time, but for years, the
Yeah.
plan was to have Jonathan Majors as Kang, do Avengers Kang Dynasty. And then he had his whole legal drama. They also, what compounded it is that Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania severely underperformed, and nobody really liked the character as portrayed in the show Loki season 1 and Loki season 2. And I think they finally realized that sense of momentum that we enjoyed leading up to the big reveal of Thanos and Infinity War and that sort of thing, it's not happening. Like, we're not recreating that buzz. And so as soon as they lost Jonathan Majors and as soon as the Russo brothers came on board, I think they realized we got to, hit the emergency eject button and come up with something different. Like I said, I did not see this coming. I think everybody was blindsided. I was flabbergasted by the news. I am very much open to the possibility that it could work, just because I know and love the character of Dr. Doom very well. And they've screwed him up so many times over at Fox with all these horrible Fantastic Four movies they've made. There's nowhere to go but up. Well, I mean, once again, what was that rule that I quoted earlier? Was it Sturgeon's rule? Or Sturgeon's law? 90% of everything is crap. So maybe it won't work, but I remain open to the possibility that RDJ, now Oscar-winning actor, can be one hell of a Victor Von Doom.
Yeah, so they essentially said that there was like another, like, I'm trying to think about what they said. They said that they were going to do Secret Wars, and they said, but before we do that one, there's another essential film that we have to do in front before it. And that is when
which comes from this bad boy, issue 59 in the Fantastic Four, called Doomsday. But Dr. Doom steals all the power of the Silver Surfer. It's a great 4-issue arc by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so Doomsday is why the guy in front of me was losing his shit. So he was in front of me, and everybody was losing their minds. But so they said Secret Wars, and they had the title treatment, but then he said another essential film we have to do in front of it. To do it, he's like, there's an important character first that's part of this universe. And then the guy in front of me was like, oh my god, and he said oh my god like 10 times, and I could see his hands were here. And then that's when they said, and then they're like, if we bring Victor Von Doom to the movie theaters, we need the greatest actor in the world. And I was like, who the hell's
who did you think it was going to be?
Well, I didn't know, but would never have guessed Robert Downey Jr. is the greatest actor in the world. But anyway, it was funny because he's like, he's the greatest actor in the world. And I turned to my friend, I'm like, was it going to be like Tom Hanks? Like, what?
He's like, did they get the guy from The Creator, my favorite movie?
Is this Vincent Spano? No, it was hilarious. I didn't know. I had no idea. I don't think anyone had any idea it was him. But when he said greatest actor in the world, that was when they had all the people dressed up like, was it Victor Von Doom?
Well, yeah, Dr. Doom's famous for using doubles, where he uses all these robots that look exactly like him. So you never quite know if you're talking to the real Dr. Doom or not. And so oftentimes he'll lose at the end of an issue, but like, oh, it's just another Doom bot, and like he'll get destroyed. So you never quite know if you're interacting with the real Victor Von Doom.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that part. So it was like the presentation of like, they were all on stage, and then they kept going forward, like you should forward, move to the side, and then they had the other one, and then he moved forward, and when he removed his mask, people obviously you can hear.
He's a
they went
monarch of an Eastern European
crazy.
country called Latveria, where he's basically a totalitarian dictator. But some of his people do love him, but he rules over his small European country with an iron fist. But he knows a little black magic. He's good at technology. He also likes to speak in the third person. And Doom is happy. Doom is pissed. Blah, blah, blah. He's very grandiloquent, if that's how you pronounce it. Or anyway, he loves to give big, broad speeches. He's a very hammy, over-the-top character. But in Secret Wars, which came out in 1984,
RDJ could do that.
Totally. But in the original Secret Wars, it was a 12-issue series in 1984, which I was obsessed with. At one point, Dr. Doom basically decides to take on the most powerful person in the universe and steal his power. And it's fantastic. There's a lot of really good material there that they could possibly adapt. So once again, between the 1984 Secret Wars as well as the 2015 written by Jonathan Hickman, both of which feature Dr. Doom as the central antagonist, there's a ton of cool material. If they adapt even 5% of it, we might actually be seeing some really successful movies.
Yeah, and then one of the things that Robert Downey Jr. said was he said new mask, same task. And I think they implied that it was, I feel like they implied that it was sort of like in alternate universe, maybe he becomes him versus Iron Man, or I don't know. That was sort of how it seemed like they were playing with sort of an alternate universe of that.
Yeah, a lot of people have theorized that due to the multiverse, which is not popular, but they keep using it over and over. Like every single superhero movie these days has the exact same story, whether it's Spider-Man No Way Home or the new Flash movie or the new Deadpool movie. People are over the goddamn multiverse and they've overused it. My hope, because this is what happened at the end of the 2015 comic, all the different multiverses were kind of collapsed into one central storyline. So you didn't have to worry about all these different variants. Maybe they can finally put the goddamn multiverse to bed. But the fact that both DC and Marvel were doing the exact same storyline at the same time and not making it work with either shared universe just shows how the multiverse has worn out its welcome. But that would be one explanation as to why Victor Von Doom looks just like Tony Stark.
Yeah, and so you knew about Secret Wars, but you didn't know about Doomsday, and that was
Doomsday was the big revelation. Secret Wars has
and
been
that
on the calendar
never
for
occurred
years.
to you that they would ever do that.
Because everybody kept talking about Avengers Kang Dynasty, which was going to be written by Jeff Loveness, who wrote Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but that movie failed. And they finally, you know what? All these hacks that we hired from the Rick and Morty show are doing a poor job of writing these Marvel shows and movies. And I think they're finally getting pushed aside, thankfully, because they all fucking sucked. Or at least they were great for Rick and Morty, terrible for Marvel.
And then the Fantastic Four will be in Doomsday or Secret Wars?
Fantastic Four will be in it because the Secret Wars basically is all the Marvel heroes.
Okay.
And Doomsday will
and
use
Captain America's in it too, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Both the Avengers flicks will have the Thunderbolts characters, the Fantastic Four characters, as well as the Avengers characters. But Fantastic Four comes out next summer.
Yeah.
And next winter, obviously, is Cap 4. And then Thunderbolts is April of 2025. So
there's 3 2025 Marvel films.
Yeah. And if those movies work out, then people will be excited to see them in those Avengers movies. But it's like, it's a big balls bet, because what if the Fantastic Four movie comes out and it's just as bad as the 3 previous Fantastic Four movies that we've already seen?
There's never been a good Fantastic Four film. So,
well, I mean, some people say The Incredibles is basically the closest we'll ever get, because it's very similar in tone and style. So Vanessa Kirby, one of those beautiful girls who's ever walked the planet, I remain open to the possibility she'll be a good Sue Storm. But what has people skeptical in the team, Reed Richards is the leader, and he's also a scientific genius. But it sounds as if with this movie, they're trying to turn Sue Storm, his wife, into the leader and the scientific genius. And if they do that, all you're left with is Reed Richards with like these stupid stretchy powers. There will be a huge chunk of the fan base that'll say, you're getting it wrong, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Vanessa Kirby's got such a presence, so I think it's exciting that it's her.
I loved her in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, she's amazing. And then the film that she got nominated for the Oscar, can't remember the name of it, but she was really extraordinary in that. Just in the opening scene of that movie, she's walking down the street in like this long pea coat, and she's just like a statuesque, and she's got like a lot of presence. So
animal magnetism.
Is that what it's called? Oh, you're just saying she has animal magnetism.
Exactly.
Sorry.
But it'd be a good name for a movie as well.
Yeah, exactly. But Pedro Pascal is very dreamy. So he's great. I'm very excited about him being in the
accent
film.
will be key. Like, I've seen him do an American accent for comedic purposes in the second Kingsman movie, where he was my favorite part of Kingsman: The Golden Circle, where he's doing like a Texan accent, and he was hilarious. I don't know what accent he'll do for Reed Richards, but once again, that's a big X factor where people are
Well, what accent is he have The Last of Us? Isn't it an American accent?
kinda, but it's still. I mean, I think is he from Colombia or Venezuela? Where is he from originally? Anyway, he's from South America, but he doesn't try to kind of disguise it. Whereas with Kingsman, he was like, "I'm doing a Texas drawl," and it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so for them, it was very surprising they were there because they essentially said we're starting the shooting in the UK where they're not going to be here, and then all of a sudden, Feige's like, and they're actually all here, and then they all came out. So and then they were supposed to go back to London, immediately after. But that was when that was a surprise for everybody. That they kind of said they weren't going to be there, and they all were there. And they showed they showed some clips. I don't think they released what they showed for Fantastic Four, did they?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't seen anything. I've only seen them doing the red carpet and so on and so forth. But just out of morbid curiosity, did they mention the fate of the show Ironheart? Because Ironheart is one of their shows that's been shot and it's been rotting in a vault for like 2 years.
Oh.
And everybody assumes it's going to be just as bad, if not worse, than Echo came out in January. They dropped the entire show in one day, pretended like they never made it, and just kind of moved on. But Marvel's very clearly trying to get back on track to where they were between 2008 and 2019. They made a lot of crummy shows over the last 5 years. And the leftovers of that period are like Agatha and Ironheart. So everybody's wondering, like, when will they just dump this stuff online just so they can get past it? Because obviously they have to release it or they'll be accused of all sorts of bad things.
Oh, they can't shelve it. They'll release it. You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't release the show starring Ironheart, who was introduced in Wakanda Forever, let's just say.
Oh, okay.
Some
Got
people
it.
will lose
Yeah. Then maybe it's just a matter of like how well they market it. They didn't talk. They just mostly focused on the 2025 films, and then these two surprise, the Doomsday and the Secret Wars. The Fantastic Four I didn't know they didn't release the footage. They showed like an kind of an alternate universe of 1960s that's like more technologically advanced than what our 1960s was. It was kind of like a sizzle reel of just a bunch of clips and things. Like they showed Reed Richards like teaching like a TV show, like educational TV show. And then they had like a quick clip of the Thing being a contestant on the dating show. Like you saw the silhouette of like, she's like, I choose number 3. And it was like a silhouette and you could tell he was like the Thing. And then it was like a doc. And then it was sort of like they were filming a documentary of the 4 members preparing to go into space. And then I know Sue Storm made a mention of like, something about her son is like available to like, because it was a documentary and she's like, he's available, ladies. And then you saw him like do the side eye.
How old was Franklin, her son, in the clip?
In his 20s? How old is he supposed to be?
Well, because in the comics, he remained 5 for decades. And then they finally started letting him kind of age up a little bit. You might be thinking about her brother, Johnny.
Oh, maybe she was saying Johnny. Yeah. I think it's because she said like he's available, ladies, and he was like, "Oh my god!" Like you could tell he was embarrassed.
Yeah, she was probably talking about her brother, who's a
that makes sense.
I
thought it was. I guess it's weird because it's like pimping out your son is kind of weird. So that makes a lot.
Franklin
more sense.
remained young for a long time before he finally aged up a bit, and he has a little sister named Valeria.
Oh, okay, and it also makes sense. He would be like trying to get your brother like love. So that makes a lot more sense. So, that's obviously I'm not
Chris
well
Evans was the original Johnny Storm, and then Michael B. Jordan played Johnny Storm, but we'll see if they can finally get it right.
Yeah, and then they also announced the name of the movie was The Fantastic Four First Steps.
Yep. Was
the name. That was a new reveal. And then I want to talk to you about Captain America because I didn't understand some of it. So I wanted you to be able to explain.
I mean, I've seen the trailer, but that's where all I know is that they've basically reshot the entire movie. They tested horribly. And so they carved out 4 months earlier this year to basically almost do like a page 1 rewrite and reshoot of the entire thing. And then they finally dropped the trailer like 1 or 2 weeks ago. I'm very skeptical about any movie where you basically have to reshoot the whole thing. And the budget now apparently is somewhere between 300 and 400 million due to the reshoots. God. It's going to have to be one of the most.
How are they going to make any money?
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know what went wrong behind the scenes, but you got Harrison Ford as the president / Red Hulk, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. And then you've also got obviously Falcon, aka Captain America, in there. And who else is in there? You got the leader from Tim Blake Nelson going back to the 2008 Hulk. can't remember who else is in the flick, but basically Hulk can't be made as like standalone movies due to Universal still having some of the rights, but Hulk can be used in like ensemble casts. So it's a way of kind of backdooring some more Hulk content by combining it with Captain America 4.
Okay, yeah. So they showed some footage. Should they release the footage they showed?
I've seen the trailer. That's all I've seen.
I haven't seen the trailer, but I think the footage they showed wasn't the trailer. So it's Harrison Ford. He's like President Thaddeus Ross. Is that right? So he is like at a press conference and he talks about how they discovered adamantium. Is that in the trailer?
They did not mention adamantium, but
okay. So that's the thing. So they had a clip, I think. So they said she discovered adamantium, and then there's a separate scene where he goes and he thanks Captain America, played by Anthony Mackie, and says he wants to thank him for all he's done. And then he says he wants to help him rebuild the Avengers. And Anthony Mackie's like confused because he's like, "What about the Sokovia Accords? Like that? Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense." And he was questioning it. And then there's a scene where Harrison Ford is essentially giving a press conference. It looks like in front of the White House, and I think there's like an assassination attempt on him or something.
And he turns into Red Hulk.
He turns into Red Hulk, and I was like, I don't know what is Red Hulk.
It's a storyline introduced by writer Jeff Loeb in the early 2000s, drawn by Ed McGuinness. Okay. And Jeff Loeb, people know him more because he was kind of the creative director of all the Netflix Marvel shows, but he did not get along with Kevin Feige, which is why like Daredevil, Punisher, and all that kind of stuff felt like it was off in its own little corner for a while. But Jeff Loeb, very famous comic book writer. He also wrote Teen Wolf back in the 1980s, as well as Commando. So a great writer, but he wrote a ton of kick-ass comics at both DC and Marvel. He introduced the character of Red Hulk. So yeah, Thunderbolt Ross, originally played by William Hurt, who sadly moved on to actor heaven. So Harrison Ford has replaced him with the character. And yeah, he becomes Red Hulk, smashes things.
Great. And so he's a good person.
No.
He's a bad person.
I mean,
this is good.
Well, when you turn into a Hulk,
you get the layman part, someone who doesn't know,
and aggressive and crazy and angry and that sort of thing.
Okay,
so he's a little more crafty. But think about Bruce Banner, like in the early days of turning into Hulk, and how Hulk always will destroy a small city. Red Hulk's a little unpredictable.
So is the idea here that Harrison Ford knows he's this person?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay, so does that mean that the president's a bad person?
Could be.
Okay.
It just I imagine.
Or is it just he's bad when he's Red Hulk?
Depict Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross as kind of a heavy-handed person who wants more control over the Avengers and superheroes. And much like how Captain America turned him down in Captain America Civil War, Anthony Mackie will do the same in this. But that's about, once again, nobody knows anything because they rewrote and reshot the whole goddamn thing. So
okay. And then they introduced Harrison Ford, and then Harrison Ford looks amazing. He came out and he was like awesome, and he was kind of bounding all over stage, endless energy. And he sort of, because in this clip they showed he's kind of like, again, the assassination attempt or whatever was happening, he's kind of underneath the pulpit, and then he emerges as Red Hulk. And so when Harrison Ford comes out, he actually reenacted and went like he was turning into Red Hulk, and everyone thought that was awesome. It was pretty cool to see him be so. He's just very.
I hope they finished the special effects, because in the trailer he looked like Shrek. He looked a little rubbery and gummy, and if you look like a big red Shrek, people will poke fun of it.
Oh, so again, I missed the trailer. So the Red Hulk wasn't a reveal at Comic-Con. It was in this trailer.
It was in the trailer, yeah.
Okay, but the footage
you see, like Anthony Mackie throws the shield at him and he smacks it down. So you only see like a partial reveal.
So maybe the reveal of him becoming it is at this pulpit in front of the White House. But anyway, that was that part, and then the Thunderbolts, one of the big thing from that I got as a layman, not a Marvel fan, is, or just observer, is that they said that the asterisks, they didn't explain the asterisks. There's an asterisk at the end of the Thunderbolts title treatment, and they said, "Oh, should we explain?" "Oh, no, we're not going to explain," and they didn't explain. So, do you have any idea what that?
I don't have any theories on that. I mean, the Thunderbolts are basically the Marvel version of the Suicide Squad, where you've got bad guys teaming up. And originally, it was bad guys masquerading as good guys, but then later on, basically a team of ne'er-do-wells working for the government, doing things that like superheroes wouldn't do. But it just gives you a chance to have a lot of people with more lenient attitudes towards murder and killing and that sort of thing, teaming up
Okay.
and going on missions. But Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier, is part of the team. Florence Pugh, who's the new Black Widow, she's a part of the team. David Harbour's character Red Guardian is a part of the team. Ghost, who is the villain in the second Ant-Man movie, is part of the team. And beyond that, I can't remember. I hope it'll be good. I love seeing villains do their thing, but Marvel, like I said, is trying to pivot now and recover their mojo. But a lot of these movies and shows were greenlit during their bad phase. Whether or not they can shake off the cobwebs and fix things remains to be seen. But I'll see it. I mean, I'll see all these movies. I'm hoping they'll all be good.
They showed footage too. I don't think they were released, but it wasn't anything. It was like Yelena, who's Florence Pugh's character. She talks about how she like knocks on her dad's door as Alexi's
She was horrible
door.
in the Black Widow movie. I mean, the Black Widow movie was atrocious.
Yeah. So she's knocking on his door and then he's cleaning up and then he opens the door and he tries to like, I guess they have a bad relationship. And then she sort of reveals to him that she sort of feels helpless. And then there's a scene where they have her go into some room and I guess they're trapping all the people who are going to be the Thunderbolts, and individually all the villains start to come in and then they realize were brought there for a nefarious reason. That was really the clip. But it looked interesting. You know, what was interesting is I watch the Marvel films to be part of the conversation, but I'm not actually fans of any of them. My Marvel films that I get excited about are actually probably because I worked on them, but X-Men, I worked on the first 3 X-Men films at Fox.
Yeah, the early days of Fox. Well, then you're going to like Deadpool and Wolverine because they tap into all the
just like Terminator obviously means, I mean, it's a little different, but the X-Men means a great deal to me because that was what I did at the beginning of my career. I worked on all 3 X-Men movies and I didn't know anything about X-Men until I started working on them. And then all of a sudden I felt like I knew everything about Nightcrawler. I named my last car Nightcrawler and my new car Storm. So X-Men's my jam of the Marvel characters. And then I also really like the Spider-Man films. So it's funny, those are like the Sony versus Fox. So I've never really been gravitated toward these other characters, but X-Men is probably the ones that mean a lot to me. So I'm actually very excited about seeing Wolverine. But anyway, just to say, as someone outside, the Captain America movie, just from the footage they showed, I was actually really into it and I thought it looked great. So I actually am really excited about seeing this new Captain America movie. Everything they showed
coming in February.
I'm interested.
A lot on the line.
seeing
One of the most expensive movies ever made. Like Disney, every once in a while, they'll overspend on certain movies like Dial of Destiny, and it blows up in their face.
Because most of the time when I'm seeing these Marvel films, I'm just seeing them again to be part of the conversation, be able to talk to them, not because it's something that I actually, can't wait to see. But I actually think I'm very interested in seeing this Captain America movie. It looked like a kind of like a straight drama too, and it looked fun. So I'm excited about that one. I think of all the ones I saw. And then I think Fantastic Four it looks interesting too. But obviously the Avengers got like a lot of stuff. So what I was going to say, I think you kind of alluded to earlier in the Avengers one, is that guy in front of me that was like, oh my God. At one point I turned to my friend and I'm like, I could tell he was like crying. And then when we left the panel outside, people were like stunned. Like there was a lot of people just standing there, like didn't know what to make of it. And what do you mean? And what do you think that means? And then I was walking next to this girl who was on speakerphone telling her husband, RDJ is Dr. Doom. And people were like losing their minds. They were either like crying or
even
like
a risk-averse, soulless corporation like Disney can still throw a curveball and surprise people. Because you think of like big, large, expensive movies avoiding risk like the plague and giving people precisely what they think they want. But once again, like I said, it's a rare big swing. Maybe it won't work out, but I like RDJ and I like the story of Secret Wars. I choose to be an optimist. Whether or not I'll, that turns out to be a good idea or not.
Which is, I'm actually shocked because I was thinking, what is Jamie thinking? Because you're so pessimistic about Marvels these days. I mean, about the Marvel brand that I thought,
we've had 5 years of mediocrity to
and it makes sense.
Turn me into a sourpuss.
I think I just assumed that I'm like, you're just so over it that you're not. And so that was actually exciting to hear you be like, oh wow, this is a big deal.
That was the first time in 5 years where I actually allowed a little flicker of enthusiasm to work its way through my system. So
it was definitely it was cool. And I was actually trying to think about like what would make me, I mean, I have cried in a Hall H before, but mostly it's because of like the footage I've seen has been emotional for some reason or another. But I was thinking about like what would make me lose my mind, like this guy in front of me.
Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the old version of John Connor.
Oh my God. I have some issue with my headphones. I'm sorry. I keep playing, but they keep sliding off my head and I'm really
but
sorry. I keep
play as
playing.
much as you like.
I know. It's like everyone's going to be like the video comments are like, can this girl freaking get it together with their headphones? Sorry. Okay. Sorry. That's why. Cause I feel like, oh God, do I need it? I think they're okay now. I think I finally fixed it. Well, no, I was thinking about it. Cause I was like, what would make me? And then I was thinking what would be, and you were going to laugh at me, but I'd like, if James Cameron came out and was like, I'm making the future war to show Kyle and John fighting side by side and eventually sending Kyle back in time to save Sarah, I think I probably would be the person standing there crying. So I felt like
the only thing that would make me cry would be if they like dug up the corpse of J.R.R. Tolkien and brought him back to life and wheeled him out on stage and said, we're letting him write all the movies and shows from now on. Then I would be excited. But the thing that really diminishes my enthusiasm with a lot of these franchises, because so many franchises are like, it's like a house on fire, is when you have crummy writers oftentimes rewriting the history of very popular franchises, whether that's The Witcher or The Lord of the Rings or The Wheel of Time or Marvel or Star Trek or Star Wars. There's such an epidemic of prequels these days, and oftentimes those prequels are being handed over to filmmakers. Maybe they're interested in the subject, maybe they're not. But oftentimes they don't have the chops or the talent. As my grandfather would say, they don't pack the gear. And when I see somebody putting the words in the mouth of a character that I love, when they're not up to the task, that's when your love can turn to blind hatred very, very quickly.
Okay. And then they gave, it's kind of funny. I was thinking, so Feige was wearing this blue Fantastic Four cap. And in the past, they've given you, they almost always give you caps at the Marvel panel. Like when they had their new Marvel logo, they gave us the cap with the new Marvel logo. They gave the Madam Web hat. So I'm not Madam Web, Jesus. Black Widow hat, sorry. Slip of the tongue.
Freudian slip. Your favorite movie, Madam Web. Go.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Bring on the sequel.
So anyway, but anyway, so I assumed from the beginning, I was like, oh, they're totally gonna give us the Fantastic Four blue hat that he's wearing, because that's what they do, because it's usually that. And it was funny, I'm like, oh, they didn't. And I was thinking that's probably because they spent all their money giving it to RDJ to be
maybe so. I don't know what size check they cut for him, but I imagine it was considerable. I mean, Disney clearly is not ready to let go of their Marvel franchise without a massive fight. And then when you want to mount a successful war to win back the fans, you cut a big check to the Russo brothers, you cut a big check to RDJ, and you try to recapture that lightning in a bottle from Infinity War and Endgame.
This is what you got from being in the Marvel panel. You got a little ticket and you didn't find out till the night of. So they gave you this poster of, it looks like Red Hulk with, and if anybody wants this, they can let me know because I don't want it. And I'm happy to give it to someone who really wants it. And then the other ones from that from the Hall H panel were, they also gave this one for the Marvel panel. They gave a Fantastic Four fan. Oh my God. This is like a fan of like a souvenir map, it looks like, of the 1960s. And then that each one is the character. Again, if you're really obsessed, just let me know. And then earlier in the day, they had this Superman and Lois panel. So we got this poster from that. And I ended up using the whole Superman and Lois panel. I got a banana and a Pepsi during that whole time. I took the whole panel to do it because I didn't watch the show. So sorry for all the people.
I saw the first episode, but
news from that.
Not for me.
But we didn't talk about and then Penguin. They gave us a Penguin poster as well. The Penguin actually, sorry, but don't hate me. I didn't like the Batman. I know that's also controversial because it was well received.
I love the first half, then I thought it started to run out of gas, but there's a difference between James Gunn's DC universe moving forward with the newly released DC logo, which comes from the 1980s. But we also had the Batman epic crime saga, which is shows and movies branching off from Matt Reeves' first Batman movie. So they're basically going to have like side-by-side kind of rival DC universes, and who knows which will be better, but I will at least give a shot to the Penguin when it comes out on HBO. If it can be as cool as like a traditional HBO crime show like The Wire or The Sopranos, they'll have a hit. And if not, I mean, I just think it's fascinating that DC now is doing official like HBO branded content, but here we are.
Yeah, and this is what's interesting is I didn't like the Batman. I just thought it was really, really boring, and I don't need to see Batman faxing or making a copy at the copy machine. Like I felt like what is happening? Why are we seeing me? It was so boring, I thought. And it also felt like it was 4 hours long. Wasn't it really long? And it's like 3 hours or something. I don't remember. It just felt real long. So I saw it to be part of the conversation, but I thought it was incredibly boring, and I'm really sorry, and don't hate me. But I'm happy that a lot of people loved it. But the Penguin TV show, I actually am very excited to see it. It looks great. It looks like it's great. It's an 8-part limited series. It looks really fascinating.
And they got Craig Zobel, who did The Hunt, directing 3 of the episodes, but I've never seen any work by Lauren LaFranc, who created the show. And so, as is always the case, I'm optimistic, I guess, to a degree, but I'm also prepared to be, crushed and disappointed. Just because if you look at the history of DC content over the last couple of years, it's been just years upon years of failure compounded upon failure, like starting with Black Adam through friggin' Shazam and Shazam 2 and The Flash and Blue Beetle and the Aquaman sequel. It's just been just like a river of mediocrity and or just shitty movies. So they've got a lot of ground to make up to kind of win people back.
Yeah. So I just thought it was compelling enough that as someone who actually didn't enjoy the movie that this is supposed to be weeks later of, I'm actually very excited about watching this series. And also they did something they've never done before. At least I have never seen it done before. They might have done it for other panels. Sometimes they'll bring in somebody to do like a special announcement from Zoom or for like a minute. They zoomed in Colin Farrell for the panel for the entire Penguin section of the panel.
Gotcha.
Like
he also
the
did a little
whole
intro
panel.
for the new trailer as well.
Yeah, so the whole panel, anyone that was asking questions, there's this huge box of Colin Farrell, and you got to see him just listening on. He could hear everything we were saying, and so it was cool to see. And he just was incredibly charming and also really dreamy. So he was great. I mean, he was so sweet, just very sweet, and like he really understood his character. And I thought he talked a lot about the makeup and all the stuff he went through, and I thought that was really cool to have him on the whole time. Like he was actually a member on the panel, just in a big box. So that was awesome. And then there was one other person. Oh yeah, they had a Berserker panel for Keanu Reeves was there, and he was also just incredibly like just genuine and kind. And he talked about
a Netflix series or movies. I've got at least the first 2 trade paperbacks for Berserker. It's a cool concept, but I can't remember. Are they doing it as a show on Netflix or as a series of feature films?
It's I thought it was based on. I think it's just I think it was just a.
They're just talking about the comic.
It's just talking about the comic.
Gotcha. Most comic book writers these days and comic book artists, it's basically like an unofficial pitch for an upcoming movie or show. And I thought the original concept was let's make a successful comic through Kickstarter and then pivot into a show or movie. Maybe they've disregarded the show or movie portion, but they're pretty deep into the run now. And I think I own like the first 12 issues.
Oh, they did say that they're looking to make Berserker a movie on Netflix, but they weren't talking about the movie on Netflix. They were talking about the comic. I guess the comic's been out for 4 years. And they said the new one's in comic book shops August 28th. So yeah, the whole panel was about the comic and the history of the comic. And then they were also selling a really exclusive one for like over $100 that had like black like line pages and just Keanu Reeves was so genuine about making a character. And then I guess they had the comics and then they also made a companion book to it called Book of Elsewhere, and China Meeville like wrote it. So they were selling that book. So it was a companion book plus the comic, and that was really cool. But yeah, it was interesting because the whole panel was about was not about a movie or a TV show. It was about the book. But
that's a sign that it's a thin year for Hall H if they're letting a comic book take over an entire section.
Well, maybe it's because Keanu Reeves was on there, and then they also presented him with the Inkpot Award, which is is a big deal for Comic-Con, and so it was pretty cool. And then they even talked about like the swag, like the collectibles they were making. So you're right, that was kind of thin. The beginning of it was thin with Lois and Clark season 3, and then Berserker.
And didn't they show Batman Caped Crusader, which comes out later this week on Amazon? Didn't they do a brief panel on that? Or did they not? Was that maybe that was over in one of the ballrooms?
Yeah, that wasn't in Hall H.
All right. Well, anyway, it was a Saturday thing. So just real quickly before we get to Star Trek, Batman Caped Crusader coming to Amazon later this week. It's Bruce Timm, back on the horse alongside Ed Brubaker and J.J. Abrams and a couple other people. But I've watched half of my press screener for Amazon. But here's a little taste of things to come.
This is a losing battle. 100 other monsters will show up to replace anyone you take down.
Probably. But now they'll all know I'm coming for them.
So for people who love the early 90s Batman animated series, which was run by Bruce Timm, they are, very, very excited. Some critics are freaking out for it. All I'll say is I've seen like half of it. I like it. I don't love it. But if you're an animation junkie and you like Batman, take it for a spin later this week. Form your own opinion.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk for, we've done run long. I don't know why, but Star Trek is just, we'll just talk.
I've been waiting for you to lay it on me. You are the Star Trek girl. And
I know, but
they talked about Lower Decks, Starfleet Academy, Strange New Worlds, Section 31, and maybe even Prodigy. So as I like to say, like Matthew Bellany would say, make the bull case, pretend like I'm not here, and then I'm not going to second guess everything you say, and then make the bear case for these shows. Which one got you the most fired up?
The one that got me the most fired up was Starfleet Academy, which I think is probably what would make you the least excited about. But I was very
Sylvia
excited.
in it, so I can't watch it. Yeah,
I know that's what actually one of the main reasons why I want to watch it. I love.
He's one of the reasons I stopped watching Discovery.
I know.
But I promise not to say shit, and I'm already.
No,
breaking
it's
my rules.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Starfleet Academy. What is Starfleet Academy for people who are unfamiliar?
It's what it's how you get through Starfleet. That's like all the cadets, everybody goes through Starfleet Academy, and then
Like the era in which the story unfolds.
The era, like 2,600. What do you mean?
Like, and relative to the other seasons and other shows, like which time period are we talking about?
Oh, I think we're talking Discovery. We're talking Discovery. So actually, it's way far into the future.
Yeah.
Probably it's the furthest ahead of all of the shows because Discovery does jump very far ahead, and Tilly's going to be on the. Actually, there's several members of the Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery just finished its last season. I think there's a handful of people that are going to come back for Starfleet Academy, like Tig Notaro's character, which is one of my favorite characters from Discovery. She's going to be on Starfleet Academy, which is also incredibly exciting. Tilly's going to be on. The head of the Starfleet. Is going to be his actor's name is Oded. I can't remember his last name. He's going to be on. What's cool is Holly Hunter is going to be is going to play the head of Starfleet Academy. They've announced that a while back, and that's exciting. What was also something to note, which is really cool, is so Paul Giamatti is a massive Star Trek fan, and I guess the Starfleet Academy showrunner said that they overheard Paul Giamatti mention in an interview how he had always wanted to play a Klingon, and they kind of overheard that, so they went to him and said, hey, we're doing this show. Would you be interested in, they asked him if he wanted to play, they offered him a role to play a Klingon. And they said he actually cried on Zoom when they offered him to do that. And so he was like, yes, of course. And then they said, so they gave him like a list of 4 different Klingons he could play. And they said that they were actually surprised that he chose to play the villain of the first season. So he's very excited. And I mean, obviously, if you're a massive Star Trek fan, it probably is a dream come true to be a character in one of these shows. So
it depends on who's writing and directing. Like Terry Matalas, for a brief shining moment, lured me back into the fold for Picard season 3. But I have a lot of problems with Alex Kurtzman. Like I just call it Kurtzman Trek. And for me, there's Kurtzman Trek and there's Star Trek. And it's like Disney Star Wars. Disney Star Wars is its own thing. And I no longer associate it with anything related to George Lucas. There's George Lucas Star Wars. There's Disney Star Wars. But if Terry Matalas ever wanted to come back, I know he's doing another show, but if he ever wanted to come back, I would gladly pull up a chair.
Yeah, I'm in for any Terry Matalas show. I just saw in 70 millimeter Star Trek 6 at the Arrow a few weeks ago, and it was so funny. As I was leaving, I was walking down the sidewalk, and Terry Matalas is standing like right there on the side with a bunch of people, and I looked right at him, and he looked at me like he's like, "Am I supposed to know her?" I think it was one of those things where he looked at me like, oh my God, she just recognized me, because I don't think some people recognized him, and I was like, oh my God, it's Terry Matalas.
My inside theory, based on no evidence of any kind, is that Kurtzman was threatened by the fact that Terry Matalas people liked it, and it started actually making it into the Nielsen ratings and that sort of thing. So I think Alex Kurtzman was like, get this guy out of here, because like Kurtzman crashed the Lamborghini, handed the keys to Terry Matalas. Matalas like, well, fuck it, I'll turn this fucker back on and I'll let it run a little bit longer. And for a handful of episodes, it got really cool again. I was really praying for Star Trek Legacy, but sadly it did not materialize.
I was really praying for it too, but it was cool because like an hour after I saw Terra Metalis, he retweeted me and I was like, what? I didn't even tag him or anything. I was just talking about the movie that I saw in a 70mm, and he retweeted me, and all of a sudden I got like 100 new followers. So thanks, Terra Metalis, for the 100 new Twitter followers. So anyway, that was cool. And then what else did you do? Section 31, it's going to be a movie. It's not a series, and they showed the trailer for that, so that's online.
They actually, I managed to get a sneak peek, a secret scene from Section 31, which I'm going to share here for your viewing pleasure.
Our official designation is Section 31. Never heard of it. We keep a low profile. Works out better that way for all concerned.
And what does Section 31 do? Apart from kidnapping Starfleet officers?
We search out and identify potential dangers to the Federation.
And once identified?
We deal with them.
How?
Quietly.
So that's my idea of having a little fun at Star Trek's expense, because obviously that comes from season 6 of Deep Space Nine, when Star Trek was different in style and tone. But just to contrast that with the new version of Section 31, here's a little taste from the trailer.
You're a bad bitch.
We can't trust you with our lives, but here we go.
Somebody's got to keep it lively, right?
Get ladies, now let's get information.
So that's a Star Trek Rorschach test. Pick your poison. I prefer the Deep Space Nine approach, where Section 31 was basically one mysterious guy. But if you want to turn it into whatever they're turning it into, more power to you. But I probably will take a pass on that one.
I love that you're like, I'm going to let you go, and I'm not going to be critical at all. You didn't say you're going to be critical, but I just think it's funny. You're like, and that sucks, but this is greater. Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. I'm excited about Section 31. I like Philippe Georgiou. I think she's the emperor. She's like the leader of the Terran Empire in the Mirror
season
universe
1 of
Discovery. But she's in a lot of the seasons. I think she wasn't on the last season, but she was on multiple seasons, and she's got some of the funniest lines in Discovery. I know Discovery's in for everybody. I really enjoy Discovery. I like her character. She's I think she's wonderful. So I'm in Section 31, and then I even bought a Section 31 jacket. I think I mentioned it earlier at the Comic-Con, and I was like thinking, I just call it the Comic-Con. Sorry, Comic-Con. I was thinking about, should I wait and see the movie before I buy it? But the jacket's so cool. Essentially it's a black version of the yellow bomber jacket I have. And I just was like, I'd love this. So I bought it. But anyway, that's exciting. They did Lower Decks. There was a whole chanting of Lower Decks. And
season 5 is coming, right?
Season 5 and the last season. I think that they imply that maybe somebody will save it and it could go somewhere else. But they keep saying the last season on Paramount Plus. I think that's their way of saying, please, Netflix, why don't you?
Well, obviously, Paramount's going through a giant transition phase right now as well, like merging with Skydance. So who the hell knows what Paramount will be a part of? But Prodigy, I know, has done extremely well on Netflix. It's obviously a very different style and tone from a lot of traditional Star Trek, but there is an audience over on Netflix. So there, at a minimum, there's a precedent for Star Trek doing okay on that platform.
Yeah. So then there was Lower Decks. I don't watch, but I know it's amazing. And last year during Comic-Con, they actually, because there was no cast, they still kept the Star Trek panel, but they showed us in a week in advance of when it aired, a Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover episode, which was just amazing. I was really exciting about that because I felt like it was so accessible that it could have gotten people who aren't into Star Trek to get to watch it. So that was cool.
And way ahead of you, because I got a clip from Strange New Worlds, the upcoming season, which might convert people, or maybe they'll run screaming.
This feeling is unusual.
My perception has increased. Everything I once found dull now seems to be fascinating.
Okay, so that, if you're into Strange New Worlds, it's really funny because Spock becomes human and they're using it over serum. But I actually was really annoyed with that clip that they chose to show that clip during the Strange New Worlds panel, because there was a room full of people in the in Hall H that probably never saw Strange New Worlds. And what I think love about them being forced to sit through things that they don't normally watch is that it's a way to get them to watch a show. Oh, that looks good. I like Penguin. I have no desire to watch the Penguin HBO series. And now I'm like, I'm all in. I'm going to watch it now. And I feel like that clip wasn't the right clip to get people to watch. It looks silly and weird, and I don't think it would get somebody who doesn't watch Strange New World to watch it. I think if you're into Strange New Worlds, there's a context around that scene, and it's very fun. And I actually had multiple Star Trek fans. One of my friends in Singapore sent me a message and was like, "Oh my God, it was so hilarious, blah, blah, blah." And multiple people say that love the show, how much they love the clip. But I actually turned to my friend and I said, I really wish they showed another clip, because I feel like that's exactly the type of thing that
for you to even acknowledge that they should have shown another clip. That is a private victory for me. This whole video is worth it just for you to acknowledge maybe they could have put a different foot forward to make a more positive impression.
They had, because I'm sure there was massive other things. Some great footage, and I feel like that. And also, it looked
taking his shirt off and oiling his chest.
Yeah. So I was a little disappointed. I'm excited, and I would have loved it if I was just with Star Trek fans that love Strange New Worlds, but because I know there were Marvel fans that have never seen Strange New Worlds, I'm bummed if that was if that's what their impression of Strange New Worlds is, and that's not what it is. But it was very funny if you're a fan. And so I'm glad I gave you that little victory.
But make the bull case for Section 31, because there are people who love
Strange New Worlds or Section 31?
Strange New Worlds. So what is like? Make the did I say Section 31?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, sorry.
They're different, Jamie. There's different Star Trek shows out there. And
it's all Kurtzman Trek. But make the bull case for Strange New Worlds as to why people who maybe had they fallen off of Star Trek, why should they? Because it seems like of all the Star Trek shows right now in circulation, that one is, at least appears to be the most popular. So why should people give it a shot with season 3?
I think it's the last season was one of the best seasons, I think, of Star Trek, period. I think one of the things that I love about it is that it's very they bend different, like to do a bunch of genres. They did a bunch of different genres. Like they covered horror and then musicals and all sorts of stuff into one season. I think the most accessible thing and why people should check out Strange New Worlds and start from the beginning, and it's actually more in the last few seasons, is that it follows a lot of these characters before they become who they're destined to be. So you get to see Uhura in Strange New Worlds before she becomes, because Strange New Worlds takes place before the original series. Pike is the captain, and then Uhura's on the crew. And then as the seasons have gone on, they just introduced Captain Kirk, I think a season or two ago.
He's in season 1. That's what actually drove me away from the show. The way they depict the character, I was like, we're done here. I think I saw the first 5 episodes of season 1, and then I skipped ahead to the finale because everybody said how amazing it was. I put together a little clip to sum up my feelings towards the season 1 of
I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to show a weird clip. Okay, thanks, Jamie.
The clip will it'll sum up my feelings better than any words I could put together.
And also, I didn't finish, but okay, go Jamie, go with your clip.
So after seeing the way they handled Kirk and Spock in season 1, I felt compelled to put together a little highlight reel summing up my reaction to the characterization of those two iconic characters of sci-fi. When I mentioned earlier how I dislike seeing character or writers tackling the history of beloved franchises, Strange New World is, or New Worlds is one of the poster children for why I dislike seeing new writers rewriting the history of beloved IP.
Mm-hmm.
But if you love the way they handle Kirk and Spock, more power to you. But I've given it a shot. I've given it a shot, but I'm letting it go.
That was excessive, by the way. But okay, fine. That's great. That's how you feel. But for me, I Stranger Worlds is amazing, and it's gotten better and better. I love Kirk. He was a little bit in one of the episode you watched that you don't like. He's had a more of a story arc. So has Ethan Peck, who plays Spock. Nurse Chapel, Uhura. They introduced Scotty at the very end of last season, and that was one of the big reveals of this panel, is that Scotty will be in this whole season. He will be a member of the crew. He wasn't a member of the crew. They just met him at the end of the last season. And then another big reveal was that, again, one of the episodes is going to be a Hollywood murder mystery episode. I know that drives you further screaming in another direction, but I absolutely love Stranger Worlds. I think it's the best of Trek. I know there's a lot of Star Trek fans out there that believe it is too. For me, again, one of the reasons why I love it is because I get to see a lot of these characters go through all sorts of complex emotions and become the characters that I know they're end up destined to be. And I love it. And I think Ethan Peck is amazing. I think he's the best. I can say this definitively. I think he's the best Spock beyond Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy was the best one, but after, I think Ethan Peck is.
There's only been like 3, so it's like.
Well, there's been Zachary Quinto. He's good. He's okay. He's good too. But Ethan Peck is amazing. And well, whatever. Screw you. Screw you. And that whole clip of that was 4 hours long. That was excessive. So
it was 1 minute and 17 seconds. I titled it "Primal Scream," but I think when certain Star Trek shows start coming out, rather than review them, I'll just make highlight reels and just post those. And I feel like, as the old expression goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Well, I'm a champion, so if you disagree and you want to talk Trek and be in a safe space, I'm here for you.
So when can people look forward to these shows? When are they dropping? When they can be seen? In what order are they coming out?
Yeah, actually, they didn't announce the release date of Strange New Worlds, which is a bummer. So I'm assuming it's sometime. I actually don't know when Strange New Worlds next season. They didn't announce it. The new season of Lower Decks, I believe I did write that down. I think. Oh, I did it. That comes out, I think, in a few. I feel like it's in August. I feel bad. They didn't say. And then Starfleet, I actually, you know what? I don't think they announced it.
You even like Star Trek?
No, I don't. I love Star Trek. I don't think they announced any of the dates. And if they did, I'm really apologize. And I will tweet them out later. They didn't, I don't believe they announced the dates, but I'm sure they did. They're online, and I will say, but Section 31, I believe, is coming out very, very soon. But apologies, that I don't have the dates for those, but you can look them up if you do. But, again, I'm a safe space. Trek is amazing and all the way. And I do not sponsor the message that Jamie just did and that video. I don't endorse it at all.
What I will say about Star Trek is that in the 90s, it's proof that some franchises can actually survive the absence of their original creator. Like, there are very few franchises, whether it's movies or novels or comics or whatever, where they manage to kind of reach new heights once the original creator is no longer part of the scene. But you can make a case for that around like 1994, between the movies and the end of Next Generation and the beginning of Deep Space Nine, that Star Trek was reaching new highs. So whenever people say like which franchises actually have gotten like really, really good, even if the original writer is no longer around, and say, well, look at Star Trek in the 90s. That's a perfect example. But it is very, very rare for a franchise to, stay good once the original creator is no longer part of the picture.
It's really good right now. The
content's look at Star
amazing.
Wars. Star Wars with no George Lucas, train wreck. Like, Marvel kept Stan Lee around until he died, but you could almost say that from the moment Stan Lee died, the movie started to suck. Like, it's just. Franchises do struggle to find a new direction once the original creator is no longer around. Obviously, don't get me going on Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power again. But like with The Witcher, the writer is still alive. They could have had him be part of the show. They chose not to. Whereas with Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, George R. R. Martin's still involved as a producer, will write the occasional episode. It definitely helps when the novelist upon which the show is based is part of the overall creative process, even if he's not running the show.
Well, Star Trek is thriving and it's doing really well, and Lower Decks is very well received, and so is Strange New Worlds. I'm sure Section 31 would be great, and I cannot wait for Starfleet Academy. So you can just disregard everything that he just said.
You heard it here first. Starfleet Academy and Section 31 are gonna fucking rule, and if they rule, I'll be the first to
and Strange
acknowledge
New
that
Worlds
they
is
do.
gonna continue to rule. So that's what we'll say there. But yeah,
Doyle
oh my gosh.
rules. All right, so we've gone 2 hours and 16 minutes.
I know we went over, and just so you know, I'm actually kind of glad for this video, so you can see me being like, "What the hell is going on?" Which is what half the time when he goes off on Star Trek, I want to just die inside. I'm dying in here, but now you can see it,
But
and you know that I'm defending it.
I do try to leave some shows alone. Like once I'm no longer into it, like I could have been generating traffic on this channel talking about Star Wars: The Acolyte. I could have been generating traffic talking about Discovery Season 5 and that sort of thing. I just said, you know what? I'm going to let people have their fun. I'm just going to leave it alone. The one exception to that overall philosophy will be Rings of Power, just because I feel like when it comes to Tolkien, I draw a line in the sand. And if somebody's fucking up Tolkien, I'm going to offer my point of view. But like if shows or like a movie franchise or a TV franchise or whatever goes in a different direction that I don't like, life is very, very short. I prefer to read books that I like, watch shows that I like. So if you'll recall, the only Star Trek reviews I've done since Discovery Season 2 was for Picard Season 3, where I offered rave reviews every single week. So I'm not completely dead inside quite yet.
Yeah, you could have just said Star Trek's not for me, but that's instead you watched.
But Star Trek is for me because I've seen a lot of movies and a lot of shows.
I don't mean that. I mean the new shows. Yeah, but it's fun. I get it. It's fun to debate with you. At least we didn't get in a huge fight like we did last time.
Well, how could we get in a fight after playing Becky and James?
I
the song at
know.
the beginning of the video.
Always bring us back. Oh, and then I know so I think that's what is that? Anything else? Because I wanted to mention something really quick because I really
final conclusions. The floor is yours. I know I say that and then I interrupt you. This time I really mean it. The floor is yours. Final conclusions, takeaways, announcements, anything you want to offer.
No, I just wanted to say one interesting thing. Again, you're gonna hate this, but because I love Paramount Plus because they're like my favorite streaming service. One of the another big thing that happened throughout the thing was a thing called Paramount Plus Passport, which you did last year, where you actually have to, it's like a scavenger hunt all through Gaslamp. You take pictures and you can redeem them for a bag, and you get like a Paramount Plus mug and like pins and a bag, and it's really fun, but it's really just experience. I ran all the way around Thursday morning with my friend, taking pictures of a hotel here, Petco Park, and it was really fun, and booths on the floor. That's also a really fun experience. There are really cool things to do.
That's how you got 100,000 steps.
Yeah, and then I bought a Star Trek
oven mitt or
oven mitt. Shut up. Oh, and then this is one of the t-shirts. You can make your own t-shirt at the Star Trek booths. You get the pick, and I did the IDIC symbol, infinite diversity, infinite combination symbol, and then I have the Enterprise, and it says "Beam me up." I went 2 days. I went on Thursday. I went on Sunday. The other shirt says "Es Astra Scientia," which is from the Star's Knowledge, which is the slogan of Starfleet Academy, and it's got all the 3 ships. And then I also bought this for my friend. It's a deep cut. I'm not into Scream movies, but she's really into them. It's the Stab. It's the name of the movie, so it's a deep cut.
Yeah, I like the first Scream. The rest, I can just pretend they don't exist.
Oh, and then there also was a Doctor Who, a Star Trek crossover called. It was just like his friendship is universal. There was a big activation where you could take photo ops with the TARDIS, and then on the captain's chair, and then you got a friendship bracelet. Time and Space was a Doctor Who bracelet. I got Boldly Go. So this Time and Space friendship bracelet's going to my friend Emma, who's a Doctor Who fan. And then the last amazing prop I got was from Cat's Paw. It's a little replica of Enterprise. That was the most expensive thing I bought. But anyway, I bought a lot of cool stuff, and it's cool to have a video so we can show all the cool stuff.
I'm getting flashbacks of Mel Brooks, Spaceballs, the coffee cup, Spaceballs, the flamethrower. The kids love this one. But anyway, just bringing out all the merchandising. That's where the money is
and then
made.
the last one is my friend David Boer. He also did a comic, and I got it signed. He's in a million, but this is Killer Queens. So puts the sass back in Assassin. So anyway, I could go on and on and on. And this has been 2.5 hours, and it's crazy because we're supposed to be 90 minutes. But I love being able to geek out about Comic-Con with all you.
Before
and then
I let you go, release dates for Sony films.
release dates.
I will offer no opinions, but lay it on me. What the best and brightest of what Sony's got in the can coming our way over the next 6 months?
Okay, it ends with, we got Harold and the Purple Crayon for it's based on a book about a guy that's got a purple crayon. It can create everything. It comes out. Zachary Levi is in that. It's August 2nd. So that's like next week, next Friday. Go see it with your kids.
This Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. This Friday. Yeah. And it's really, really fun. Jermaine Clement is hilarious in it. It Ends With Us is based on a book. I think this movie, the ending is really powerful, especially, and I feel like it has the power to change people's lives. I really do think that people are going to see this movie, certain women that are in situations, and I think that it might compel them to change their lives. So I'm really I'm happy that we're putting that out. It's called It Ends With Us. Afraid. It's based on AI. It's kind of like a ring type of thing where it's in your house and then it turns against you. It's really, it's called Afraid. AI is in the middle of that word. That's August 30th.
Is that the one with the Sulu of the Kelvin timeline?
Yes, John Cho.
Gotcha.
Is the father in that. So it's, what is it? Kind of like Ring. It's like Ring is like the, it's something in your house.
I saw Ring 2, the original, and then I saw the remake by Gore Verbinski.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean like the Ring, like horror. I mean like the Ring, like the system in your house that helps you cool you down and like has a security system. It's kind of like an Amazon Alexa or something like that.
My building's nearly 100 years old. I don't got those fancy toys.
Oh, okay. And then the Brad Pitt, George Clooney movie Wolves, which is an Apple film where Sony's distributed. It comes out September 20th. The big film for the rest of the year, the one that I'm spending like my whole life on, is Venom: The Last Dance. It's the last and final film in the Venom in our Venom trilogy. It comes out October 25th. Here is the movie that is Bob Zemeckis, Tom Hanks. It's just extraordinary. I just sent you a behind the scenes video, which I think is going to be released soon. It's Jamie on LinkedIn. It's just really revolutionary.
Camera, but across many years.
Across many years is revolutionary. And then the last big film we have coming out this year is Kraven the Hunter, December 13th. And then we're also releasing Paddington in Peru in January. But those are the big ones. The Bear.
Yeah, I've got 11 nieces and nephews. Some of them are Paddington fans. So.
Yeah, so we're releasing the film in select markets internationally, but we also have the U.S. rights to that film. So it's actually Sony's never released a Paddington film, so it's very exciting because I'm learning a lot about the bear, and I just think he's wonderful, and he makes you want to be a better person. So I am very excited. I think that's the one I'm most excited about. But yeah, that's a slate of all our films. We have a lot working on. If you're going to pick any of those, please help us. Please go see Venom, The Last Dance. It's really going to be accessible and fun. Probably the most emotional of all the films, but also incredibly fun.
If I was in y'all's marketing department, I would have demanded that Tom Hardy in full costume ride a horse through the gas lamp district of San Diego just to plug the movie, but nobody asked for my opinion.
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah. So, I mean, Tom Hardy's is really supporting this film, and you're gonna see a lot of him very soon. And we're very excited. What do you
think of him in The Bike Riders?
He was great. I like The Bike Riders. I know you had different opinions of it, but I really liked it.
I thought the ending is a little soft, but Austin Butler, that guy is a fucking superstar in the making. I think the future is very bright for Austin Butler.
Yeah, he was very charismatic. He's wonderful. And my favorite film of the year is not a Sony film, but it's called The Beast, and you can rent it, and it's freaking amazing. Have you seen it?
With the one with Lea Seydoux?
Yes.
Have you seen it? I have not seen it. It was at the New York Film Festival when I was there last year, and I asked the fellas from the Pink Smoke, I was like, should I watch this? And they said, no, you won't like it. So I took them at face value, but now everybody's saying The Beast is great. So I don't know if I'll like it or not like it, but I was dissuaded from seeing it at the time.
Oh no.
But I had a press pass to see it during the festival.
Magnificent. And
I love Lea Seydoux.
I saw it on a Wednesday night. I rented it and I was so obsessed with it that it's a 3-hour film. I watched it again that Friday night. I plan to buy it. It's just extraordinary a film. It's like,
is it technically a 2024 release or a 2023 release?
It's 2024 release.
Okay, so
I think it came out in April in the theaters for like a week or two, but it's just stunning.
Well, I'll definitely see it before I do my
fiction.
top 10 video at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I will love it if it makes your top 10. It's just
my favorite, my number one right now is
magnificent.
Oddity, the new horror film. Have you seen Oddity yet?
No.
That's scary as shit.
Oddity?
I had to go to the bed with the lights on.
When does this come out?
It came out a couple weeks ago. Very small release. Yeah.
It's so okay. So it's in theater.
It's from the director who did Caveat in 2020. It's an Irish horror film. Played
cool.
theatrically. Who did it? It's not Neon. But I kept thinking, God, the marketing team from Neon needs to be working on. It's a Shudder release, but I can't remember who did it. It's IFC Midnight and Shudder, which are putting out Oddity. But that is my favorite film of the year. Little small horror film from Ireland.
Well, I'm in.
Scary as fucking shit.
So terrifying or horrifying? Because I like to. That's a new thing I have right now. Where I call.
There is a subtle distinction.
Yes. So like when evil lurks to me is horrifying versus terrifying. That's what I'm saying. So I
don't know what my distinction between, but there's definitely like
it could be both.
Shock and terror versus, but I'll just say this, the slow burn horror where you're seeing something like nothing's jumping out and shocking you, where you're just kind of coiling up in your chair, like looking through your fingers and nothing ever like gives you like those heart attack moments, but it's just a perpetual feeling of dread. I was blown away by what they did with such limited resources. And then I immediately had to go and watch Caveat. Caveat takes a little longer to get going, but the ending, equally scary. I've been seeing that fucking girl poking her head out around corners in my apartment ever since. He's a really good filmmaker. His name's Damien McCarthy, and I think he is the future of the horror genre.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's definitely on my list for the end of the year. I'm a massive, massive, massive horror fan. So I can't wait. I cannot freaking wait. So
right. I'll watch The Beast, you watch The Oddity, and the world will be complete. But where can people find you online if they want to tell you how right you were about Star Trek and how wrong I was about Star Trek in the days to come?
Oh, please do. You can find me on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. And I will until my dying day at Hollywood Minotaur, and it's actually Hwood Minotaur. That's where I'm on mostly. I also have a website, BeckyDeanna.com, and that has like it's sort of a great place to go. And all my podcast appearances, over 50, I think half of those are on Wrong Reel. I do a lot of appearances for Ingmar Bergman. I'm obsessed with Ingmar Bergman, but I'm also, there's a lot of Trek on there. Horror films. Actually, I don't know if I've actually. Oh yeah, Halloween. We did Halloween. And then all of my top 10 lists from the past like 16, 17 years are on there. Some published articles. So if you want to get a hub and find out like about me or want to listen to me or read anything, if you're interested at all, BeckyDeanna.com is the way to go.
Or if
but
you want to lay claim to any of those toys that she doesn't want, like that poster.
Yeah, I would say the best way is on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter, Hollywood Minotaur. Again, Adam Rockoff gets first right over that Star Trek ornament, but if he says no, if first person to check in with me, again, I'll give it to you at face value 35. And then any of those posters, let me know too. And Adam,
if you're watching, you owe Becky some money. Get on.
Oh yeah, you owe me a lot of money, by the way. You owe me a lot of money for this and the Terminator wax pack. But I'll give you the total, and you better pay me today.
Absolutely.
Anyway. And then we're gonna play D&D again. You all heard it here.
Absolutely.
Nova Hanfoy will fight again.
We'll rise again.
We'll rise again.
Well,
sorry. One last thing I just want to say one of the things I did on the way home last night was listen to Film 89's episode of The Abyss Special Edition. It was just like gold standard podcasting. I just was like one of the reasons why I didn't drive off the road, because it was I was so freaking tired last night. The episode is just like best in class podcasting, amazing. The only thing that sucked about it was Bill Scurry said some, and what did he call Terminator? He said he called T2 underbaked, and I almost blacked out when he said that. Bill Scurry, it's not
You
okay.
just might kill his drow wizard.
Yeah,
rogue.
and you almost killed me because I almost
Yeah.
blacked out on the way home and got in an accident.
It'll
'cause
be
you
a very
called
short
T2
campaign. You're like, you know
underbaked.
what? Fuck the monsters. Fuck exploring. Fuck treasure. I'm going after Bill.
Yeah, so Bill, and then you call Vincent Spano. You said something about him last year, so you need to like just get out
As
of here
long as
with
you'll
that.
let me record it, I will gladly record a first edition D&D face off between you and Bill anytime you say and may the best person win.
Yeah, so get out of here with the underbaked T2. No, you're wrong. That's objective wrong. So anyway, that's it. But also listen to the episode of Film 89. It blew me away, except for that stupid Bill comment that I'll just act like it never happened. Anyway, bye. And it was great talking to you. And if you want to talk about anything else I missed, I'm here for you. I'm here for Trek. I'm here for Bergman. I'm here for you.
Well, I said it at the beginning and I'll say it again now. Any topic, anytime, you just let me know. We will roll out the red carpet and record some more videos. So now that you've made it through, you've endured a 2.5 hour video recording, relatively pain-free. You made it. And now it's time to do
and I didn't kill you, so it's great. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I'll put together some more highlight reels for your viewing pleasure in the months to come.
Great.
Well, we hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Please consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that notification bell, liking the video, sharing it with your friends, all the good stuff. And feel free to chime in the comments below as to whose side you're on some of these weighty issues that we
Team
explored.
Becky.
Exactly.
Side you're on.
Hashtag Team Becky all the way.
And not Bill Scurry.
And then or you can just do a hashtag not Bill Scurry. That's also equally good.
Hashtag T2 is not underbaked.
Exactly. Precisely. All right. Well,
okay.
I think we have reached the end of the show, but as we always say at the end of every episode, more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.
He's looking at you, kid.
I'm Charles Foster Kane! Hey, Stella!
Suck on this.